You just don't see that very often. And we've had a little bit of discrimination as time goes along. I think Drew Lock was as good a quarterback as we've seen in the SEC in some time, and I think if he'd have been playing for Florida or Tennessee, you guys would still be talking about how great he was in his junior and senior year.
I think you're right.
Just an opinion. I really think they're one of the teams to watch, and I think a lot of the coaches believe that. I think they believe that Missouri is a formidable adversary, gets to be more so all the time. We seem to have got some really tough calls the last couple of years, particularly against Kentucky. I think the year before last, the last call of that game, you go back and look at it, it just was flat wrong. And it seems like those come up in critical spots. Anyway, didn't want anything much. I just watch your show some. I appreciate what you guys do. I do think at times you're wrong. I think you and Luganville and Barnhart have spent a lot of time justifying Tennessee. And while I don't have anything against
Mike, hate to run, but we are flat out of time. One more hour to go. Stick around.
Lowe's helps property maintenance pros save on what they need to do the job right. Look up to 35% off select appliance special values. And through our quote support program, you can get discounts on large volume purchases, like 4-piece kitchen suites as low as $1,169. Save every day on 5-gallon pails of Valspar 2000 interior paint starting at $89.98. Plus, get 5% off eligible purchases every day just by using your Lowe's business credit account. Do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Appliance offers valid through 10/23. Terms and conditions apply. Subject to credit approval. Exclusions apply. U.S. only.
All right, it's time for some straight talk. You wouldn't pay $100 for seats to a baseball game where you can get the same seats for $50. So why pay more on your wireless when you can get the same 4G LTE networks for up to half the cost? For $45 a month, get our unlimited plan with 25 gigs of high-speed data from Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. See terms and conditions at straighttalk.com.
ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. I'm Davis Allen with your UWF Argos update. No Argos football over the weekend as they enjoyed the week off with a bye week. They return to practice today as they prepare for their conference matchup against the West Georgia Wolves, who come into this game with a record of 4 wins and 2 losses and fresh off a 42-21 victory over North Greenville. The Argos will travel to Carrollton to take on West Georgia with kickoff scheduled at 1 o'clock this Saturday. Will Kennedy will have the call for ESPN Pensacola beginning at 12:30 with the UWF pregame show. In other Argos athletic news, the men's soccer team tied Shorter 3-3 over the weekend, while the women's team dropped a loss to 18th-ranked Lee University. And swimming and diving, they remain undefeated on the year with wins over Rhodes College, Millsaps College, and Birmingham Southern on Saturday. I'm Davis Allen with your UWF Argos update for ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
If you have over $10,000 in credit card debt and are behind on your monthly payments, you need to make this free call right now. 800-428-4187. When you call the Stop Debt Hotline, you're taking the first steps for help. Debt specialists are part of a real team who will help you with all of your options. You could stop the collection calls and letters forever by calling the completely confidential toll-free number right now. 800-428-4187. 800-428-4187. When you call, you'll get free information on how you can handle your debt forever. Imagine no more late nights and no more debt. Don't try to face your creditors alone. Call the Stop Debt Hotline right now. 800-428-4187. 800-428-4187. Get free information now by calling the Stop Debt Hotline. 800-428-4187. Non-attorney spokesperson paid for by Debt Resolution Helpline. 102 Northeast 2nd Street, number 183, Boca Raton, Florida, 33432.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies, and rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, for a man age 45 non-tobacco user, it's $1 million of coverage at $75 per month, level rate for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco user can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110 per month, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rate guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Term Busters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for a new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 1-866-929-1950. That's 1-866-929-1950. You're probably paying more than you should. Call Term Busters at 1-866-929-1950. That's 1-866-929-1950. Remember, 1-866-929-1950. Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes for preferred non-tobacco underwriting. Exam required to qualify.
There's a lot going on right now, and broadcasters are on the ground covering all of it, bringing you the weather, the traffic, and breaking news, all while entertaining you 24 hours a day. Someone needs to tell you what's going on around the world and in our hometowns, and that someone is us. We are free radio. We are always there. We are broadcasters. Visit wearebroadcasters.com or text radio to 52886 to learn more. Furnished by NAB and this station.
Football season has arrived, and ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM is where the action is. Bringing your high school football every Friday night, UWF football on Saturdays, and the NFL on Sundays. If you would like to partner with ESPN Pensacola as a sponsor or promotional partner, give us a call at 262-6000.
ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM WEBY Milton, Pensacola.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Just become the NFL's all-time leading rusher. Across the middle, and is caught for the first. It's Baldwin, shaking free and sprinting down the sideline for the touchdown. His third of the day. Doug Baldwin.
Derek Brooks, who ran back 3 interceptions for touchdowns in the regular season, does it to cement the Super Bowl.
Boxing's elite, the new WBA heavyweight champion of the world, Roy Jones Jr.
Baldwin beaten. The result has come up on screens that Gatlin's taken it. Goodness me, it was a blue American vest. 992 for Gatlin. 992 by the American champion to take gold.
Another Watson is wearing a green jacket at Augusta. And this time, his name is Bubba. Scores on a 34-yard touchdown run by the Doak Walker Award winner, Trent Richardson, who broke a lot of Emmett Smith's records back in Pensacola, Florida.
And welcome into the Sports Drive right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. I am Chad Brilliante. Glad to be with you here as always. A lot to get to on today's show. What was that? I haven't said anything yet. Okay. Baker Mayfield's upset. I said something. I apologize. I offended by saying welcome into the Sports Drive. Baker's a little upset with my words. So I'm going to go ahead and apologize to Baker right now and say I'm sorry for hurting your feelings. Get into all the big games and more today. We'll talk some San Francisco 49er football. Jimmy Garoppolo, good old Garoppolo. It does sound like something you get checked as a freshman in college at the infirmary. Son, sit down. I know you've just been here a couple days, but you have Garoppolo. I just want to. And the thing, though, about it is that this guy, Jimmy G, Eastern Illinois, I can't believe we have 2 quarterbacks, the pride of Eastern Illinois throughout the last 5 or 6 years in football. But doing it, getting it done. And how about the Bill Belichick crew? You know, we always talk about the Brady Bunch. the Belichick crew, it happens, Dave. And, it's one of those kind of things that you're just going to deal with all this. Davis Allen sitting in here, by the way, and Jeffrey D. And this is just all going to be part of the fun and shenanigans.
Yeah,
with the TV cameras, with the announcements. Lyle was fixing a camera and was giving us a nice little ultimate mooning one day. So things happen. We just have some fun with it.
We'll chat on that note. It's been
that fun note.
It's been too long since I've been a part of this
man.
show.
How's it going?
It's you know what? It's been busy here at the good old ADX, working with ESPN's. By the way, guys, I still work with ESPN. Just haven't been,
He's the Lene
here with
Kukua
my
of
presence
ESPN,
on the Sports Drive. But I'm still alive. Don't worry. You can also catch me on News Radio 92.3. I do things there as well. But it's good to be here with you guys today. Jeff?
Excellent. Davis, being a Philly Gator fan, we've got plenty to talk about. And I think I'm pretty optimistic for the rest of the season.
I would sit here and say I'm disappointed, but I'm really not. I am not disappointed over what happened on Saturday.
There's maybe pockets of disappointment, like maybe how the defense was unable to cover for the loss of Zuniga and Grenard. But I think that if we'd had those two defensive ends and put a little pressure on Joe Burrow, and then maybe converted the last two times in the red zone, we may be going to overtime.
It was tough. It was really tough, though, to stop a quarterback who was nearly flawless the entire game.
Yes, he's nearly flawless.
It didn't matter what you put at him.
Absolutely.
The receivers were also getting open. I know
they were getting open against good defensive backs,
Mm-hmm.
and they've got elite receivers at LSU, and the Gators are playing a dime package for about half of the game with four down linemen, one linebacker, and six defensive backs. And so they were able to run the ball. And LSU was able to run the ball pretty effectively.
Yeah, and I think in that game, and we're going to get to Cash It or Smash It coming up here on the game, and we want you to weigh in. 850-623-1330 is the number. Nothing like a team going out there and beating a national champion, a team that dominated decades by over 30 points. You have a 42-0 lead on them and lose a spot in the polls. But that's exactly what happened this week with Florida State losing to Clemson as LSU jumps them in the polls. But, I guess that's where the ACC has come this year. A couple years back, it was a lot different. Look, all these teams at the top, this is for the media to go out there and hoot and holler. But overall, these teams know they control their path. And you know what? The whole Clemson thing, it's a great argument. I talked about this yesterday on the show. We were down at the NFL tailgate party, and everybody wants to play either lawyer or play politics when, you watch something like MSNBC and you watch Fox News, you'd feel like we're in two different countries. You know what I'm saying? But it's whatever side you want to choose. Choose your own adventure. Love those kids. Books when I used to go in the dark forests and then never get out and never return. But I'm telling you, the difference in football is Notre Dame last year. So many people, you hear the Paul Feinbaum show, well, they really didn't deserve to be in the top four. They weren't one of the four best teams. Well, they won all their games, yes, but they don't have a conference championship. And then this year, they lose that game early to Georgia, and what probably got them in last year, not having a conference championship, will probably be the same reason they don't get a shot to prove themselves by getting another spot this year because they don't have a conference championship. So I know that it hurts. I would rather them be in a conference that they have a championship, but if it all comes down to these one-loss teams, Georgia right now and Florida, they still get to control a path to get there. Because if they win out, if Florida or Georgia wins out, mark my word, and everybody else 100% should agree on this, you're in. If you go out and you beat Auburn's and LSU's and all the teams that you have to play going forward, for Georgia it would be Auburn, Texas A&M, Missouri, then you turn back and beat Florida, and you also go out there and then you win the conference title game against Alabama or LSU, you're in the game with one loss. Same thing with Florida. If they beat Georgia, then they beat all the teams like Florida State, and then they beat an Alabama or LSU. They're in. So even though those losses were significant this week, South Carolina, obviously, they aren't used to getting beat up that badly between the hedges. But I'm telling you, in this matchup, this is one that you have to look at and say, you know what? With teams that don't have a conference title game like a Notre Dame or a Big 12 or a Pac-12 championship, this Saturday, the losses for teams like Georgia and Florida were bad losses, but because of the conference they're in, they've got another chance to redeem themselves.
Now, see, I wouldn't even say Florida's was necessarily a bad loss. They lost to a team that was much better than them, and I think the number 2 ranking for LSU is that's very valid. They're one of the best offenses in the game right now. They lead the nation in scoring. And Joe Burrow, he's a Heisman contender at the moment. Significant improvement from last year to this year, having a year under the SEC. Just significant improvement. But with that loss, Florida competed. Kyle Trask has sold me as the quarterback for Florida. He has already sold me, but the way he handled LSU and their defense throughout that entire ball game for his 4th career start since high school, that's not too shabby. When it comes to Georgia losing to South Carolina, that's who Florida's going to be taking on next week. Right now, Georgia just hasn't really looked too solid. Jake Fromm has overall been sloppy all year long. We saw it early against Vanderbilt in Week 1. It's gotten to where when they meet in Jacksonville, the SEC is up in the air. It's still between Georgia and Florida, but right now I'm favoring Florida.
Yeah, and Jeff, and to that point, though, with the receivers, where he was talking about with the passing game, those 4 receivers, when you lose that many players from Georgia, you can say what you want about good players returning. That definitely hurt them.
Well,
with all
there's no
those
doubt
guys.
about it. I mean, if you look at the great teams, you're looking at LSU because they've got 4 NFL quality wide receivers. I remember back in the Danny Werfel days, Werfel said, like, we had 3 NFL quality wide receivers, but once we got the 4th one, nobody could cover us. So, once you get that 4th guy that a linebacker or a safety has to line up and cover in the slot, then there's mismatches all over the place. And Mullen took advantage of that against Auburn. He took advantage of it the other night. I mean, 451 yards for the Gators in Baton Rouge. Kyle Trask's first start in a hostile environment. That's tremendous offensive production.
And not only that, his first start on the road, period, in his collegiate career. First start on the road in Death Valley. He handled himself very well. Then that interception towards the end of the game, which had an opportunity to tie up the game, touchdown with an extra point, and through what proved to be a very costly interception. LSU took advantage of that. And from there, he made that mistake. But then you look forward to this. You look ahead in the schedule. Next week you have South Carolina. Then I believe Georgia is right after, maybe a bye week in between.
Bye week.
And then Georgia. From there, I would say Missouri is probably Florida's toughest opponent because Missouri is looking like a decent ball team.
Not only is Missouri decent, but the Gators never play well
against Missouri. At Missouri.
It's almost like we go to sleep, and it's like, well, it's just Missouri. But they beat us. And so, the game the other night, Davis, the Gators had 9 possessions. They scored 4 touchdowns in 9 possessions. They moved in the red zone 2 other times. They punted twice and threw an interception. It was tremendously efficient offense. In the 9 possessions, they averaged more than 50 yards a possession. Of course, LSU had 9 possessions and averaged 60 yards a possession.
And I remember getting home and watching the game. We were at a Dragon Boat Festival all day and literally fell asleep sitting up. Like your grandparents, you never thought that moment. He'd be like, son, how's school going? Yeah, well, Grandpa. And just still sitting there talking, like, is he asleep right there? And you just, sort of touch him or give him a Werther's, and he's, oh. But I remember sitting there and falling asleep on, it was 28-28 at that point. And then woke up, thank God the game was taped, and was able to go back and watch the final couple drives. And, Florida played with them. The score was misleading, the end result. But I thought that was Florida showing that there are very few teams on any given night, outside of probably Alabama right now, I'd say that would walk in there to Death Valley, the way that offense is clicking with Joe Burrow, the excitement of how they're playing, and do what Florida did. So even in a loss, I think more people gained respect. It's so funny how sports works because the media and the public has so much influence from social media and Twitter, Barstool Sports on having fun and antics. Everything that happens today in life when it comes to sports, the media can guide us into believing, if you're not in the job like we are around it 24/7, that Patrick Mahomes is already God, that he can never lose a game in football, that guys like Baker Mayfield were going to win the national title and then go on to win a Super Bowl this year for the Cleveland Browns and turn things around. You have people out there that believe that, well, you look at a team like what we already saw out of Florida and, well, because of the game against Miami, this team isn't that good. And then Kyle Trask turns around and is able to get it done. But you can actually learn more and become more of a team in a loss than a win. And that's what Florida did this week. They got more respect in a loss this week than the rest of the people did when we go out there and play. When we come back, we'll get to more of the conversation in college football. Also tonight, big NFL game in the NFC North as Green Bay and Detroit will battle it out. Also the battle of someone had to win between Washington and Miami this week. And were they going for 2 or were they going for Tua with that pass? That's all I'm going to say on that one after the play call with not so much Fitzmagic. And how about the LA Chargers? You have a game at home in front of your 15 fans, and then you get to play some classic music of the team you're playing. Good or bad move when 90% of the people in the stands are actually paying a ticket from the other team. We'll talk about that and more. It's all coming up on this Monday edition of the Sports Drive.
Imagine having a luxury hotel quality bath in your own home. That's what you'll get with Bath Fitter Pensacola. Bath Fitter will install a beautiful luxury tub in as little as 1 day. There's no demo, no mess, no stress. With thousands of options to choose from, custom design a bath you'll love. It's under warranty for as long as you own your home. With over 35 years experience and more than 2 million satisfied customers, Bath Fitter makes upgrading your bath easy. Visit bathfitter.com today to book your free in-home consultation or call 429-1777.
Progressive presents Get Pumped. Inspiration to help you do insurance stuff.
Hey, get your head in the game. This ain't no exhibition match. This is for real. You've got a house to insure, and there are no excuses because Progressive's Home Quote Explorer makes it easier than ever to get the coverage you need. Here's some music to get you pumped. Feel that confidence. Did I say stop saving money? No.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers.
Hockey is back. The Ice Flyers opening weekend is this Friday and Saturday night. The puck drops on the Ice Flyers 2019-2020 season Friday at 7:35 p.m. and Saturday at 7:05 p.m. Be a part of the excitement of the fast-paced, hard-hitting action of Ice Flyers hockey this Friday and Saturday for their opening weekend. Bring your friends, family, coworkers, and groups out to watch the Ice Flyers kick off their season this Friday and Saturday night.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Welcome to Moe's! Okay, hi, what are we doing today?
I need something that screams something fun. Nothing too on the face, nothing too off the face, but also totally hot.
So I have the perfect thing. It's the Moe's Food Mullet. You're totally business in the front, but tailgate in the back. It's a fat party. People are having fun. Snap. All your friends are going to be like, whoa, awesome setup. Everyone else is going to be all jelly, okay?
Just like a killer mullet, Moe's Catering will turn the back of your ride into a tailgate party that's sure to turn some heads. Just order ahead and pick it up on your way.
Moe's Southwest Grill, now open in Pace on Highway 90 next to Publix grocery store.
When you became a truck driver, didn't you expect more freedom? No boss over your shoulder, the open road? It all sounded so promising. Instead, you still have someone telling you what to do and where to go. Where's that freedom? You can do better. Become an owner-operator and lease your business on with Schneider. With Schneider's Choice Lease, you pick your own loads and manage your business. Plus, take advantage of our limited-time lease-on bonus. Owner-operators who lease with Schneider get it. Visit SchneiderOwneroperators.com. That's SchneiderOwneroperators.com.
Golic and Wingo.
A different host from ESPN Radio from around the country is going to make their pick in our Survivor pool.
This is Davis Allen from ESPN Pensacola, and my pick for the Golic and Wingo Survivor pool is Kansas City over the Jacksonville Jaguars.
That might be the toughest game on the board week 1, and Pensacola is swinging with Hall of Famer Patrick Mahomes.
5 to 9 every weekday morning. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Back here having some fun with you on this Monday evening. 850-623-1330 is the number. We did have one of our callers, Ethan. He asked the question, and we love to answer all the questions for everything going on for all of the people out there. He said, "Who is your favorite sports broadcaster? Throughout the years?" And he's asking that to a group of sports broadcasters, so apparently we're not on that. No, but overall, I'm just kidding. Gus Johnson, to me, is one that during college basketball, it could be like you could have Cal Irvine versus Buffalo in a matchup of like 13s and 12s moving on to the second round, and like after the tip, they're like, yes, it happened again, 3-point shot, it's 3-0, and I'm like, why am I on the couch rooting for the Bulls right now? Like, what is happening right now? To get the excitement on anything, he could call like a equestrian show out there. Like, there's Buttercup over the rail, and all of a sudden people are freaking out. Like, anything he does adds excitement. If you've had a couple late cocktails, Bill Walton is fun, because you almost feel like you're part of the Grateful Dead. But overall, outside of that, I would say, Brent Musburger has been one of my favorites. Rob Gronkowski, obviously, right, on Fox, what he said.
He's already a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. I know who not my favorite is Rex Ryan. But, yeah, that's those would be my favorite. Tony Romo does a great job. I think Tony Romo and Jim Nantz, that team, is one of my favorites.
Nantz is terrific.
Yeah. Jim Nantz is a tradition like no other.
Every sport, he's really, really good. One of my favorites, and too young for you guys to remember, a guy named Lindsey Nelson, who was a Notre Dame broadcaster. He would do the Notre Dame football shows back in the 70s and 80s, and do a 1-hour football show that got syndicated nationwide. Just a tremendous guy to listen to. Howard Cosell was another one that was so much fun to listen to. He had Dandy Don Meredith with him, along with who was the guy that was married to the broadcaster. I can't remember his name, but
she was on. I think I know where you're going with this. Like Good Morning America.
Yes.
Yeah. The one that used to drink wine on air.
Frank Gifford.
Yeah, Gifford. Yeah,
Frank
Kathy
Gifford,
Lee.
Yeah, she was married to
Never
Kathy
forget,
Lee.
like Good Morning America, like set the trend of housewives drinking a bunch of bottles of vino at like 2:00 in the morning. Like they'd wake up and they're like, "Hi, it's 8:30 somewhere. We're all drinking." Like, a second, what is that? Is that grape juice? But yeah, it is grape juice.
I grew up growing up in middle school, especially. I used to always mimic my favorite broadcasters. Of course, Alan Jackson was one of my favorites growing up, especially
Keith Jackson.
Keith Jackson.
Alan Jackson would have been classic too. He could have broke out into like a patriotic song.
To this day, still one of my favorite country singers. Don't get me wrong. Okay, we got to bump in with Alan Jackson. No, we're not allowed.
Yeah.
But of course, Keith Jackson. And then Brent Musburger. He always received unnecessary criticism, especially from my friends.
I think you're right.
But I've always really appreciated Brent Musburger. But Vern Lundquist, another one, former voice for CBS. You'll still hear him on the Masters. But with that, I would say my top favorite broadcasters, someone that you're not going to hear many people in this area talk about, Mike Emmert, hockey.
Oh,
NBC.
the doc. He's awesome.
He is the best.
With Pierre LeBrun usually on this.
He is the best. He is so smooth the way you pass the puck around, and he knows the names of every player that's receiving that puck, and he's not going to stutter over his words. I stutter speaking slowly, and this guy will not stutter whatsoever. And then, of course, I think when it comes to baseball, I have a lot of respect for Joe Buck.
Oh, Joe Buck's terrific.
I'll always love Joe Buck. I think he's also the recipient of unnecessary criticism. But probably my number one favorite's Jim Nantz. All around, basketball, football, the Masters, all around, I'd say Jim Nantz is probably my top favorite.
Yeah, I would say the new version. Vern Lundquist back about 40 years ago was when he was in his prime. Sorry, Vern. I know he just retired, but Vern, used to do all that. Even Who the Blank is Happy Gilmore and everything that he's done in his life. But I look at, I would say that Vern Lundquist was one of my. Gary and Vern were one of. Even though I didn't agree with a lot of what Gary Danielson said, they were always one of my favorite crews because it was what I imagined one day is sort of like what we do a lot of times with the radio show now that we're on TV and our simulcast about how, once in a while we'll be laughing, and even during the breaks you can still watch us on the stream, and it's like we haven't stopped. I mean, we're always just joking around. I felt like Gary and Vern, and I did actually see them one time on a hotel elevator in the Landing during Florida and Georgia week, and they were enjoying themselves.
Well, Vern Lundquist, to me, is kind of like he's the college football version of Harry Carey. Yeah. Because they couldn't get anybody's name right. They would mispronounce everybody's name. But they were so charming, and so much fun to listen to.
It's just calling everybody champ in sport on the field like our old coach.
Speaking of fun to listen to, but you can't really he can't say everything that he wants to say on air is David Faraday. David
That's
Faraday
true. Oh, my
was
goodness.
just recently at
He was recently
the
in
Sanger.
Pensacola.
Yeah.
I watched him. I was in I want to say California, and we were at the amateur golf national champion. He was the keynote speaker. Let's just say it was a rated R performance.
Some of the great ones, 850-623-1330 is the number. Some of the other headlines as we roll through here today. How about Brady and Breeze have owned the NFL, but when it comes down to really being two of the top teams, and I think a lot of power rankings have New England and New Orleans 1 and 2, also with San Francisco in the mix. But if you look at it, it's been about the defense. If you think about this, who would have thought when Rob Ryan, good old the dude, little heavier set dude, Big Lebowski, would go out there and he made the decision to be the Grand Marshal, throw $100 down on Bourbon, but could never stop a lick on defense. That was like 3 years ago. And all of a sudden, like on defense, they were still brown bagging the ain'ts. Like they'd take it off, be like, Breeze, and then probably put it back on. Now at this point, this is one of the top defenses, and half of their games this year, they've held opponents to a touchdown or less. Just goes to show you that the culture has changed. And Bridgewater is going to get credit for being 4-0, and he didn't do anything to ruin it. But the Saints' defense is for real, just like the Patriots. And if they play in the Super Bowl, which it would be good for me and my wife, we'd have to watch in separate rooms. But at the same time, that moment right there, to me, would be because of the defense. And for the first time, not Brady and Breeze as the number one option. Now, I'm just being honest with this.
All right, so we have Ethan on the line.
Okay.
Ethan was telling me some of his picks for legendary broadcasters. I can't believe we didn't mention these guys. So, Ethan, welcome to Sports Drive. Who are your legendary broadcasters? Oh, Ethan? No, Ethan. Okay, so Ethan mentioned Pat Summerall.
Okay, yeah.
And John Madden. Absolutely. The legendary duo of Pat Summerall and John Madden.
They were a little fire and ice combo. That was perfect. You always had it's 3rd down and 3 right here at the 4. We have a big play coming. Boom, if he comes over here, he's got this guy on the outside, and we got him circle over here, and then all of a sudden, and another big play over the top, and it was just a perfect balance of like the fire and ice kind of thing going on there.
Summerall was terrific.
They were incredible.
I'll tell you what, Chris Schenkel and Bud Wilkinson did the old ABC College Football Game of the Week were all terrific as well.
Some of the other things going on at this point, Jeff, do you believe that we saw Jameis Winston, and we also saw a guy in Marcus Mariota, both in a way be benched this week? Now, Marcus Mariota's was by the coach. Jameis's was every single time on first down he threw a pick to the other team and had to go ride the pine. Now, at this point, they were 1 and 2. They were both talked about. There's never been a draft, and there still won't be, because next year, if Joe Burrow goes out there and continues to dominate and they win the national title and LSU goes undefeated, you'll probably have the 1 and 2 conversation with Tua and Burrow like that. But right now, we haven't seen, I don't remember in any of our lifetime, the 1 and 2 since probably Eli Manning and Phillip Rivers, the conversation, that you had such a surefire 1 and 2 in the draft in Mariota and in Winston. And both guys could be out of it by next season. I mean, they could be out of their job by next season. Mariota's already getting benched for Tannehill, and outside of a hot wife competition, you should not bench for Tannehill in anything. And then you've got a situation with a guy like what we saw in Jameis, where 1 or 2 interceptions is fine, but when you're throwing 5 in a game that you lose by less than a touchdown, you just can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you just can't have that happen.
Well, for the Titans, they have the luxury of being able to turn to Ryan Tannehill and have that as your backup quarterback, someone who has some success under his belt.
Yeah.
Then you have the Buccaneers. They have Ryan Griffin as their backup quarterback who has 0 NFL experience.
Pride of Tulane, I believe, yeah. Let's go. We'll get the phones going here in a second. 850-623-1330 is the number. Look at this. Sam Darnold, what was more impressive to you this week? Sam Darnold beating the Cowboys or beating Mono?
The fact that Mono's going to run his course, and so you can get past that.
You're supposed to have a lead.
Really, I thought he did a great job. I thought that Darnold did a terrific job in that game, and Jerry Jones has got to be very disappointed.
All right, we got somebody on the line.
We have Jack on the line. Jack's going to contribute to the conversation of legendary broadcasters. Jack, welcome to Sports Drive.
Thank you. I haven't called in a while, but I used to call pretty regular.
Well, good to hear from you, Jack. Yeah, I remember.
I just wanted to bring up a couple of the old-timers. That would be Kurt Gowdy and Jim McKay.
Oh, great.
Oh,
great
those are,
picks,
two of the great. And Jack, by the way, is this Jack that worked at Edwin Watts?
It is.
Okay, it's good to hear from you. See, I got a good memory. It's been a couple years since we talked.
Yeah,
but
you do.
Yeah. See, I always...
I appreciate you helping me out.
Well, absolutely. Well, I'm just saying, I always... that's one of the things is throughout the years working in this area, one of the things coming back here, it wasn't just about talking sports because, it was about doing things like this where you could have a voice to talk about your favorite broadcasters or go to a game and hang out with us and pick our brains. And, obviously we're going to talk college football and NFL each and every day, but the main reason we're here locally is because to give people an opportunity to be part of it and people like yourself. So, Jack, it's always great, and don't be a stranger. I want to hear from you every day.
Yeah,
all right, man.
Just to emphasize what Jack had to say, I mean, Kurt Gowdy was terrific. Back then, we had the NFL.
I had Gowdy last week. I still do, actually, but that's doctor.
But back then, we had the NFL.
Sadly, a true story. But
we had the NFL and the AFL.
Yeah.
And it was Kurt Gowdy and Al DeRogatis that would do. There was a whole bunch of West Coast games, like the Oakland Raiders was kind of the game that they do because they were the AFL commentators, and they were terrific. And I remember one game that I think it was the Jets and the Raiders, and they were coming down to the wire. And back then, the TV studios would not allow the game to go on. They had a hard cut at 6 o'clock Central Time, 7 o'clock Eastern, and so they had a movie called Heidi that was about to come up, and so Joe Willie Namath and the Jets and the Kenny Stabler and the Oakland Raiders got cut off in the middle of the last 2 minutes of the game, and the Jets came back and won. So we saw Heidi. So it's always been called the Heidi Bowl ever since.
I remember that. I wasn't there for that, but I remember that story right there. That was. Were you there the day when we were at World of Beer? It was. I told this story last week, but it was the game that, if you're not even a U.S. soccer fan, everybody sort of remembers where they were for Belgium in the United States. Remember? Because it was the one game where oh my gosh, we can do this. We end up tying and going to extra time, but we had that game on the old ESPN Pensacola, and right there, it was in the middle. It was July, but it was time stamped in the logs, and Davis knows more than I do about this because he's the one that, by the way, gets us him and Jeremy and Kevin and all the folks doing a great job getting us these Major League Baseball games. So kudos to Davis and all the crew doing a great job. And but so we can have all the playoff games here on ESPN that we can carry. They don't just happen. You don't wave a magic wand. But the difference was we had this game and everybody was listening. So people were driving around because it was a day game. And all of a sudden it was 3 o'clock and it just goes whoosh, and it goes to Mark Schlereth breaking down who the Denver Broncos got in the draft. And they were everybody. So I booked it down there, maybe partaking in the sponsorship we were doing at World of Beer. That's all I'm going to say there. And we got back down. Somebody drove me. And then we got down to the studio and finished the broadcast. Biggest Homer broadcast. But I watched the TV and broke down what was happening for the fans live. And so that, to me, I've got to call a Polish volleyball game in Toledo, Ohio. That was not on my list of one of my top broadcasts. Actually just gave everybody nicknames. When you see a bunch of Coach K names, Mike Krzyzewski, you don't want to start broadcasting, and you're like, I don't get paid enough for this. So every girl was like, Sarah P. And be like, my name's not Sarah, it's Slavagid. I'm like, no, we're Sarah today. The difference is, there's sometimes you just have to be in that moment and just jump into it. And, that Heidi story definitely reminded me of in the middle of the cut, because I remember getting about 500 texts. We're listening to the game. What happened? Because it was in the middle of the workday. And that was a bad look. When we come back, we will talk some football with Brent Baird. We'll get to more on the battle if someone had to win between Washington and Miami. How about that? And as a Miami fan, if you're listening, we've given up on sports, but if the Hurricanes or Dolphin fans out there, would you rather see Tua or would you rather see a victory at this point? I think that's what you're doing. But Cincinnati's still lurking in the crap zone. When we come back, we'll get to all the different stories and more. We'll break down the Florida LSU game, Texas A&M, and Alabama, and how about them Volunteers getting a victory?
Regions wants to know, what's a financial tip you'd give your younger self?
Retirement is the best form of self-care.
Regions believes banking on your own terms is a big deal. Maybe you value great service and convenient solutions, or you simply want a banker that gets your priorities. Take control of your finances with the kind of financial clarity your younger self could only dream of.
There's no shame in showing up just for the free food.
Because some things are bigger than banking. Switch for good at regions.com/biggerthanbanking. Regions, official bank of the SEC. Member FDIC.
This is Tort Talk with personal injury lawyer Terrence A. Gross.
Florida's no-fault law was passed in 1971. However, several changes took place in 2013 which negatively impacted accident victims. First, if you do not treat within 14 days, you lose your PIP benefits. Second, massage therapy and acupuncture are no longer covered benefits. Finally, if you pay for 10,000 benefits and are not EMC certified, you may only have 2,500 in coverage.
Visit grossandschuster.com.
Hey Dave, what's with the dry erase board?
We've got so much to do before we open for the day, so I'm diagramming our game plan.
You just wrote help me and X's and arrows.
I know. We need help.
Here's a plan. Call Cintas. They'll check our fire extinguishers, stock our first aid cabinets, they'll take care of our floor mats and restroom supplies, and of course, deliver great-looking uniforms.
Call Cintas. Great plan.
Oh, I'm ready! Get Cintas and get ready for the workday.
There's a lot going on right now, and broadcasters are on the ground covering all of it, bringing you the weather, the traffic, and breaking news, all while entertaining you 24 hours a day. Someone needs to tell you what's going on around the world and in our hometowns. And that someone is us. We are free radio. We are always there. We are broadcasters. Visit wearebroadcasters.com or text radio to 52886 to learn more. Furnished by NAB and this station. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM, is locally owned by ADX Communications. Our sister stations include Cat Country 98.7 and News Radio 92.3 AM 1620. As a company, we have the staff, the generators, and the resources to help get you through hurricane season. For all the information you need, our stations are here to serve you with wall-to-wall coverage throughout the storm. When the storm is here, we are on. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Hello, everybody. You're looking live at Fansville, a college football utopia.
Fansville.
Where the rivers flow with ice-cold Dr. Pepper.
Delicious.
Where every day is Saturday and everyone's a fan, even babies.
Fan babies.
And the seasons never change because the only season is college football season. Get a taste of Fansville this fall during a college football game near you. Dr. Pepper, the official drink of Fansville. Grab some today.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. Sports Drive with you right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Simulcast each and every night on Blab TV. Well, if it comes down to getting yourself something perfect for the upcoming holidays, or maybe you just wanted that piece of sports memorabilia, maybe your team is now finally starting to kick some you-know-what, and you want to jump on board and invite some people over to show you the sweet house. Well, our friends over at Coins, Sports Cards, and Racing Collectibles, Mike and the whole team over there in Gulf Breeze are some awesome people. And they even gave this, the Braves bobblehead. It did not bring the luck. Well, it definitely didn't have the bad luck of the Billy Hamilton bobblehead that sat back there next to Ben Lively and fell. Jeff was there moments before he smashed to his nobody could stop Billy Hamilton on the base pass, but me smacking him off the desk ended it. I was the only one to stop Billy Hamilton from being able to.
Clearly the only guy that could stop Billy Hamilton.
We got this Braves bobblehead. That's sweet here. And also, in honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month right here in October, they gave us the pink Dolphins hat. So that is pretty awesome. They've got some NFL Hall of Fame signature hats. And really, at this point, they even had a Babe Ruth baseball. That was one of the coolest things I've ever held. Like, I can't believe they just let me hold it. I'm like, I'm just holding a Babe Ruth baseball with the autograph right there. Jimmy Fox was on it. It's like really cool for a moment. I felt like a 10-year-old kid again. And they got some really cool from collectibles, the most common Hot Wheels, rare sports car collectibles, NASCAR, college football, and more. They even have them from the early 1900s. And if you have some coins or cards that you want to check out, like I do, boxes, because we moved, and Brittany was like, that's either going to the Goodwill or going here. If you have these rare cards, bring it by. They'll check them out and give you a quote. Really nice people down there. Coins, sports cards, and Racing Collectibles right there in Gulf Breeze. Joining us now, our good friend who has had a couple pieces of memorabilia as throughout his years covering college football in the South 24/7, from Lindy Sports to his days now with our good friends at 1010XL Radio, First Coast News, and College Sports Notebook, the Florida Gator Podcast Show, Gator Bait Magazine, and pretty much every speaking engagement anywhere in the Jacksonville area goes to our good friend Brent Baird. Brent, thank you for everything you do, and we appreciate your time.
Yeah, always. Hard to believe we're in the midpoint of the season. I don't like to say that. It's going too quickly, but last weekend was truly one of those weekends. You started at noon and ended up way past midnight. What a weekend it was.
Brent, I got to start this one off because I was doing an event we got to raise. It was, I believe, almost $200,000 over the last couple of years for Gulf Coast Kids House, that fight against child abuse, and as well with Junior Achievement in Northwest Florida, giving kids second opportunities in life and chances, and felt good about that, doing our part. And I'm telling you, it was a lot of fun doing that, but I missed all the games. We were getting score updates, so I went back and watched it. But the difference with Georgia and South Carolina, and the Gamecocks walked right between the hedges, and they were exciting. I mean, they got up for that game. But the difference was, you look at South Carolina, and two plays, an interception and a 45-yard touchdown is the reason. Those are the two touchdowns they scored. The rest of the time, Georgia's offense, and when you have a great team, and Georgia still to me is a great team, they're not the elite of the elite, but they're still a very, very good team. And I look at that matchup and say, you know what? Their receiving core is something that I notice that last year in the pivotal matchups against Florida, when they went to Nada and all those big matchups, it wasn't there. And to me, not watching every Georgia game every week, you're around there with Georgia fans speaking at their clubs. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, you've got, I think, some multiple problems here with Georgia. Now, obviously, they had some injuries. Lawrence Cager is one of the ones at wide receiver who got hurt, rib cage injury. But, look, it's hard to overcome 4 turnovers, isn't it, Chad? 4-0. When you've got that much discrepancy in the turnovers, that's another big reason that they were not able to win. I mean, congratulations to South Carolina. Will Muschamp for being able to pull that out of the fire. Carolina has one of these games probably, I'm not going to say every year, but about maybe every other year or so, as they did. They played hard. Their defense played hard. Well, the Kinlaw kid was just amazing, wouldn't you, Chad, in that game. But you've got things going on right now with Georgia. Some of their better players, Amir White, the Cook kid, who's Dalvin's brother. Some of those guys are not getting the ball as often as they need to. Anytime that Jake Fromm throws for over 50 times, or frankly 30 is the mark, they usually lose. So, and again, you have some questionable calls, and he's still learning how to be a game day coach, and Kirby Smart. But, Chad, if you have a chance to go for that field goal right before regulation ends, and you know your kicker can kick it 55 yards, instead of worrying about getting it closer, you go for that field goal and give him a shot to beat South Carolina at that point.
Hey, Brent. Hey, this is Jeffrey D. Just a little discussion on Kyle Trask. I heard Ed Ogeron's press conference after the game. In the last minute, someone said, like, hey, you know, what do you think of Kyle Trask? And he just, like, tripped over himself to say how good Kyle Trask was. He said, he's phenomenal. He's lights out. He couldn't believe that he was able to come into Tiger Stadium and do that and gain 450 yards on LSU's defense in that kind of environment. And going forward, isn't he kind of the clear guy for the Gators?
Oh, it's not even close. Absolutely. I mean, look, if Franks was healthy today, there's no way he could go back to Franks, frankly. Trask looked like he had been quarterbacking Florida for 5 years Saturday night. He was in command. He makes quick decisions. He makes great throws. there were a couple of things in that game that really haunted Florida. One was Jonathan Greenard and Jabari Zuniga not playing, I think, made a tremendous difference in that game. I mean, they played a little bit, but not much to make any difference. Especially Greenard, that played maybe 7 plays. And if you, I thought the turning point of the game was Florida had a trash through to Pirine, and Stone Forsythe got that holding penalty, and that put them in 1st and 20. And that really got them behind the chains for the first time. But, look, Trask played well enough to win the ball game. It has proven that right now, frankly, he's one of the better quarterbacks in the league.
Hey, Brent, Davis Allen here. And from this game, despite Florida playing well overall on offense, I think from the other side of the ball, LSU, in years past, LSU to me is a team that has been good, but never really a great team. But I think we are really seeing one of LSU's best teams, especially on offense. They're leading the nation in scoring, but then also defense. They're putting up a great case for DBU. Even though the Gators put up 28 points on them, LSU, they seem like a very complete team this season.
LSU averaged 10.6 yards per play. I mean, that's a first down every time they were able to throw the ball, or frankly, for that matter, every time they had the ball. I mean, just amazing. Number 2 in the nation, first time since 2012. We have never seen an LSU offense like this. And I think part of the LSU is the latest shiny thing, because they're able to do that with Brady coming over from the Saints as an assistant coach and doing so well. But, I mean, listen, LSU 32 points on 44 offensive snaps. I mean, that's as much of efficiency as you can ever see. But these receivers and Jamar Chase, for instance, have just been phenomenal. Now, they're not great defensively, which is odd with Dave Aranda, but they've had a lot of injuries, and that has hurt them. But you can see now why they are the darling of college football on October the 14th.
Speaking with Brent Baird of College Sports Notebook, you could check him out on Twitter at Brent Baird, BEAIRD. Now, looking right now at the SEC West, you had a guy going out there in Tua once again and dominating. We joked about Miami earlier. They didn't go for 2. They went for Tua by not getting that 2-point conversion right there against the Redskins this week. But if you look right now at the game against Texas A&M, you know that you're an elite team when people want to start freaking out and letting you know when a team is trailing in the first quarter. No. It was 7-0 Texas A&M. People were like, oh, are you watching this? This is happening right now. I'm like, it's still 2 minutes left in the first quarter. Then Jalen Waddle makes that play, first touchdown of the season, and coasted from there. But is this the best? Because last year I think was. But is this the best offense we've ever seen? And they don't have, to me, the best running back by far they've ever had. They used to have, I would say there's about 10 to 15 running backs ahead of Najee and the crew, even though they're really solid. But overall, is this the best offense we've ever seen for the Alabama Crimson Tide?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, it's certainly close. They're incredibly efficient. I mean, it's just amazing to think what Tua has done is spreading the ball around. You knew Waddle would eventually have a breakout game, and he did. But the interesting thing about it is he did it more as a returner than he did, I think, even as a receiver. The offensive line is getting better with Dante Brown coming back. That's helping Alabama immensely. But Tua made great decision, except for the pass in the end zone that was meant for Jerry Jeudy. He and Jeudy kind of got into a little tay-to-tay there, but they were able to straighten that out, although I do think that affected Tua for a little bit, particularly on the interception, what was when that happened. But the defense settled down too after that first drive, and they outscored A&M after that point 24-3 to take control of the game. Now, the punting is still abysmal. they're 129 to 130, although they've only punted 13 times, the second fewest in the country. So, I mean, when they're on, they're on. So, look, there will be any 9-6 in Tuscaloosa this year. When LSU comes calling, they'll be a lot closer to 52-50.
Hey, Brent, one final question. We're kind of running out of time, but I want to ask you about obviously Zuniga and Grenard going out. You mentioned that, and that was huge for the Gators not being able to put any pressure on the LSU's quarterback. But do you think that Chris Bogle, Luke Ankrum, Zach Carter, those guys, it seems like a big drop-off between the top two and those guys?
Yeah, I would agree. And again, you've got the highest scoring offense in the nation. But I'll say this: think about this a minute. If Grenard and Zuniga play, I think they give LSU maybe another 2-3 and outs. In that game, maybe coming down to the end, where Florida's driving to win the game instead of just get within 7 points. So look, I'm not saying LSU didn't deserve to win; they were the better team, and they did. But there's no question that if they could get by without those guys against South Carolina this weekend, and by the way, guys, there's no way in the world South Carolina can replicate that effort and intensity against Florida as they did with Georgia. But if they keep those two guys out this weekend and get them ready for Georgia with the off week, that might be wise to do so.
And Brent, real simple question for you here. It looks like the draft pool's up to about 1,200 people for the XFL. Can you give us your top 70? I'm just no, but we do have names blasphemous. You're going to see Cardell Jones. It looks like he might be a lineman now, but there's a lot of guys on that list that should be pretty exciting. Look, it's nothing like jumping in for football when other really, really important football is happening, like SEC games and college football, and then you got the NFL with some great games, and then you throw in this to be like, I might tape that. I might tape it. But, hey, Brent, we always appreciate your time. We're looking forward to doing it. Again, this is the exciting time as Florida, as Georgia fans over in your area in Jacksonville. Look, I understand that there were tough losses this week, but the good thing about the SEC is knowing that you can always control your own path because both those teams can turn around, and if they win out, I guarantee both those teams, one or the other, would get in.
Well, and listen, I can't tell you in 2 weeks from now what the excitement level is going to be if both those two teams win, because at that point, what you're going to get is virtually a winner-take-all in Jacksonville for the Eastern Division, although Missouri could be the fly in the ointment for both those teams, guys, before the year's over.
Yes. And nothing like if they go 11-1 and their one loss was to Wyoming. Make Coach Dye proud somewhere, right? Yeah. All right, for all those two people I've met that actually are from Wyoming. But Laramie, I heard, is pretty cool. Hey, Brent, we appreciate your time as always and looking forward to doing this again next week, my friend.
Me too, guys. Thanks much. Take care.
Appreciate it. Brent Barrett, College Sports Notebook. When we come back, we'll get to more on all the big games in college football and also talk a little more NFL from, mall mannequin. Mr. Jason Garrett still have a job for next year. It's all coming back right here on the Sports Drive.
Bowling is a sport that will last you a lifetime, and at Cordova Lanes on Airport Boulevard, every night there is something exciting happening. Like on Tuesday and Thursday, it's penny a pin. Bowl 100, pay $1. Or how about starting your weekend off right by reserving a lane for just $25 at Moonlight Bowling. Enjoy a fresh-made pizza and the lowest pitcher prices in Pensacola. So what are you waiting for? It's time to roll your way into Cordova Lanes and experience fun like never before.
Imogen and I started Jewelers Trade Shop in 1956.
Our goal at Jewelers Trade Shop has always been to give our customers the best experience imaginable. It's something that my grandfather instilled in my father, and without a doubt, my father has passed on to me. Those basic core goals and values that shaped our business 56 years ago are still very much alive and a driving force behind Jewelers Trade Shop today.
For 3 generations, the story continues. Jewelers Trade Shop in downtown Pensacola.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, U.S. Tax Shield can help you take back control. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Our team of tax attorneys can stop collections and get you protected. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the BBB, so call 800-494-6139. U.S. Tax Shield, 800-494-6139.
Calling all Florida State Seminole fans, Tomahawk Talk is here. Tune in each Wednesday afternoon from 1 till 2 right here on ESPN Pensacola 99.1 AM 1330 to get the latest on Florida State football. Hear from the experts, the superfans, and even some former players about what's happening on the field from the sidelines to the locker room. It's Tomahawk Talk this Wednesday starting at 1 o'clock on ESPN Pensacola 99.1 AM 1330.
Presented in part by Gross & Schuster, attorney at law.
Diabetes, high blood pressure, anxiety meds, everyone's on them. If you're a 50-year-old male, maybe a bit beefy, and you may even have type 2 diabetes, $1 million of term insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. Call Term Provider. Speak with Big Lou at 800-285-4954. Big Lou will find a term life policy for you even if you have type 2 diabetes, are overweight, or have high blood pressure. Term Provider has helped thousands of people like you who think they can't afford term life insurance. To buy $1 million of affordable term life for you, all you need to do is call Big Lou at 800-285-4954. Lou will make sure the scales are tipped in your favor. Call 800-285-4954. Big Lou will answer your call and work to fit you into a term life policy that you can afford. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds, too. Call 800-285-4954. 800-285-4954.
Coming up Tuesday is the NFC North, the best division in the NFL. We'll take a look at the Lions-Packers, and with Darnold back, are the Jets about to win 6 of their next 7? Plus the latest from MLB's postseason and more. Go Look and Win, go Tuesday, 6 Eastern, ESPN Radio, ESPN2.
ESPN Pensacola is now on 1330 FM 99.1.
We're still doing this, right? This is actually happening. We're going to let this happen.
You can also listen anywhere. ESPNpensacola.com.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. 5:54 on this Monday evening. So much to talk about in the XFL draft. Obviously, that's what we're as Bueller. As I think it's. Do you guys cash it or smash it? We're going to get to that coming up here at 6 o'clock. Since this is a shorter segment, this is how this always rolls. We usually have our interviews at 5:30, and then we have about 3 minutes. This is longer than usual. Usually the music is playing into the next music for this segment. But in this case right here, do you guys believe that the XFL will open up the door for very similar to how NBA players like Brandon Jennings, Sebastian Telfair's went overseas, that they could make money? Because there's no rules. It's once you enter from high school, you have to be three years removed from college to play in the NFL. But there is no stipulation right now that I'm aware of that you could come out of high school, and if they thought you were the next Zion of football, if you were the next one of these 6'7", 330 can't-miss talents at 17 years old, go and get paid a little in the XFL to get ready at the next level. Jeff, I mean, honestly, people want to get paid, and obviously there's people voting 72-0 to get paid for your brand and likeness. Somebody out there that can't wait, like that puppy dog in the bacon commercial, it's going to want to make $100,000 for a few years at the XFL, might take that offer.
I think probably Davis and I both have comments on this, but I don't think that you can get your body as a high school student at 18 or 19 or 20 ready for the NFL that quickly. I don't think that you can come out like in the NBA. It's different. I mean, you can.
Yeah, you might be ready. Yeah, if you're
you
7'1", you're 7'1" at any. Yeah,
or a 19-year-old to come out and do it. I don't think that football is too physically demanding, too mentally demanding. I just don't think you can do it. I mean, there might be some unique kids that can do it after their sophomore year, but 3 years in college is probably a pretty good idea for them. I don't think you need to do it in baseball. College baseball, they make them stay for 3 years too now if they sign. But those guys could come out earlier and be minor league ready. But I think football, they can't do it.
Well, let's just say a 5-star recruit signs to the XFL right out of high school. He's playing what would be his freshman year in the XFL. Let's look at how the previous league did. In the previous league, it didn't even last a full season. Right now, in the last time the XFL was a thing, it lasted a year, did not make it to year 2. So you have already shot your college opportunities because you've accepted money. You are not an amateur athlete, so you can't play college ball. So what if the XFL doesn't survive? You play a half a season, a full season, but now you're out of football for 2 years. You're doing something else. You're training in the meantime, and you're not playing collegiate football, getting an education while you're at it. Some of these guys, the education's not what's important. It's more the game that's what's important, and the opportunity to go make millions upon
millions. How dare
millions.
you say that here on this? No. Nobody has ever thought that, Davis. Just continue.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Captain Reality has made it to Sports Drive. Right now, I don't know if that's a good option for a prospect because we don't know what the sustainability of the XFL is going to be yet.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of questions brought up, though, because making the smart – we're all thinking from a logical sitting around like a board together and discussing this, like what would be the logic choice. But, you got a situation where a kid, his dad's in jail, his mom is a drug addict, and he wants a chance out. He just wants a chance, and he wants any type of money to free himself from that opportunity. And you're a 6'3", 250-pound stud that has a chance. You've got the skills of a Derrick Henry or a Dylan Moses or one of these players, and you said, I'm going to get my piece, and then somebody's going to want me. You got that ego, like, I want to get paid now, and you can do that. You're right. The smart choice is to play against competition that you are superior to, because if you get up there and get beat around, and remember who the commissioner of this league is, guy that pays people to body slam people into like pits and chairs from top rope. So you getting hurt in the XFL, it's probably not going to be on his bucket list of things to try to change for your family's rights. Just going to put that out there. Coming back for more. It's a Sports Drive. One more hour. We'll get to Cash or Smash It. We'll talk some more on the big LSU-Florida matchup as well. Davis, Jeff, and Chad right here. ESPN Pensacola and Blab TV.
Football season has arrived, and ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM is where the action is. Bringing your high school football every Friday night, UWF football on Saturdays, and the NFL on Sundays. If you would like to partner with ESPN Pensacola as a sponsor or promotional partner, give us a call at 262-6000.
ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Just become the NFL's all-time leading rusher. Across the middle, it is caught for the first. It's Baldwin shaking free and sprinting down the sideline for the touchdown. His third of the day. Doug Baldwin.
Derek Brooks, who ran back 3 interceptions for touchdowns in the regular season, does it to cement the Super Bowl. Boxing's elite, the new WBA heavyweight champion of the world, Roy Jones Jr. Both been beaten. The result has come up on screens that Gatlin's taken it. Goodness me, it was a blue American vest, 992 for Gatlin. 992 by the American champion to take gold.
Another Watson is wearing a green jacket at Augusta. And this time, his name is Bubba. Scores on a 34-yard touchdown run by the Doak Walker Award winner, Trent Richardson, who broke a lot of Emmett Smith's records back in Pensacola, Florida.
And welcome back, Sports Drive right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 ESPN, as well, 99.1 FM, simulcast on Blab TV each and every night. Having some fun, always with our panel of experts here, and then me. We've got Caitlin back in our network studio doing a great job on Blab TV, Davis Allen from the Sports Call, and also on News Radio 92.3 with all the latest, and our good friend Jeff Davis, who is the encyclopedia and our sports guru. Guys, hope you're enjoying your Monday so far.
So far, so good. You know, Game 3 of the NLCS is about to get underway,
That's right.
so I'm ready.
I got the cards in this one.
I think
I
do
got the cards,
too.
yeah. Jack Flaherty.
Then
Well,
again,
it's probably unlikely the Cards will go down 3-0 in this series. But I tell you what, I'm a huge Braves fan, and so it was bitterly disappointing that the Braves lost Game 4 on a little bleeder that tipped off of Freddie Freeman's glove, and in the 8th inning with 2 outs. So that's baseball for you.
I know.
That's baseball.
And I've got I did have the Nationals winning 4-2 in the series at the beginning of it, and I would stick to that right now. Washington beat a legit. Look, the Braves are good, but the Braves had problems in the bullpen. The LA Dodgers were a complete team that end up making terrible mistakes because of their coach. I mean, you can't be putting Joe Kelly when you've got Hyun-Jin Ryu, an ERA who started the All-Star game with a 1.95 ERA, and then you also had Kenji Maeda, who struck out 1, 2, 3 in the 8th, and then they pull him and don't give him another shot. And then you also have Kenley Jansen, one of the best closers in the game, and you go with Joe Kelly, a guy that pitched 4 innings, sort of looks like a skinnier version of Clark Kent before Superman. But he goes out there, and he allowed 4 runners on the game before without getting an out, and allowed 4 runs. And then they just let's send that guy to the mound, just like what they did with Mark Melancon, the Braves, where they got bailed out of a lucky situation. I don't get coaches that go for these moves.
I've always thought about this as Joe Kelly, dating back when he was with the Cardinals to the Red Sox to now the Dodgers. He is the most hittable pitcher that can throw 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
The most hittable pitcher that throws 100 miles an hour. He can sling the ball in there, but he slings the ball where everyone's going to hit it. And that was the exact case with Howie Kendrick, who, by the way, has not really hit too many home runs on the season. I believe that was his first home run of the postseason. I believe. I'll need to go back and look at the stats.
Davis.
Hits a home run in the most critical moment of the ball game, a grand slam to go along with that. You're out of it. And, of course, Dave Roberts, he's made nothing but questionable decisions in his postseason history, to where I made the argument on Sports Call last Saturday that if he can't make it back to at least the NLCS next season with the team that he has, if he were to retain a lot of those players and have a 100-plus win season next year, he's out. I find it hard to believe if he can't make it back to the World Series.
He should have been out anyway. He'll always be a big part, Jeff, of the Red Sox Nation for stealing that base, but he should be out as head coach. He's cost them now 3 times, 3 straight postseasons. His moves have helped cost them the games.
Davis makes a good point relative to velo, and if a guy's throwing 100 miles an hour and he's throwing it straight right down the middle, you're actually the kinetic energy for a guy that's a non-home run hitter like you just described. Can go deep, just by swinging the bat, because you throw 100. If it's an eephus pitch, he's not homering. if it's a sloppy curveball, they go in 75 miles an hour. He's not homering, but a 100-mile-an-hour ball that he gets a piece of can go out of the ballpark.
In tonight's game, we'll have checking out the matchup there with the St. Louis Cardinals and the Washington Nationals, as that game will get going at 6:30 Central Time tonight. Tomorrow, Game 3 of Houston, New York, and good for Carlos Correa. I was a huge Carlos Correa fan last night. Stayed up for that one. Nothing like it felt like, if I was the only one. Did you guys all stay up and watch that one?
No,
I felt okay.
I was out in the 7th inning.
I wanted to stay up and watch it, but I fell asleep.
Well, if you stayed up for the 7th inning, you could have woken up in the morning and still been in the 7th inning. There was 6 pitching changes. There's got to be a cap or the towel where the umpire says no more, or the roulette dealer who all of a sudden you're still trying to get your money on red. You're trying to get a 1-up, and they're like, we're done here. No more bets. 6 pitching changes in one inning.
That brings up a big point, Davis. Do you want to tamper with the game and say we can only have certain number of pitching changes in inning?
They are experimenting with that in minor leagues. I know the Atlantic League has been like the test league. Robotic umpires are a thing in that league. They've limited mound visits now in the majors,
Yes.
but I don't think we're going to get to a point where you can limit bullpen changes because it's strategy. It affects the way a team prepares for a game. It affects the way you use your pitchers. What if you have an injury to a pitcher? You're not going to see limitations on how many pitchers you throw a ball game, no matter how aggravating it can be when it takes 10 minutes to get a pitcher warmed up.
It's baseball. I mean, come on.
Yeah, and
I want 4 hours. I don't want 2 hours of baseball. I want 4 hours of baseball.
But Jeff, here's the thing, and the reason it's not going to change is because it only happens in the postseason. Like in the regular season in a game, they're not going to put 3 pitchers in on the 8th. Like this is crunch time, and Aaron Blanking Boone, I hate that name, but Aaron Boone, the nightmares. Still, him and David Tyree wake up in cold sweats, and Brady's like, "What's wrong?" I'm like, nightmares. David Tyree, man, he's in our house. Be like, "There's no ghost in here. It's not a ghost." But the moment of watching Aaron Boone, he coaches like a lot of people would coach playing armchair, quarterback out there. Wrong sport. But if you're out there, you would be like, hey, make this move. I want this guy. I want this guy. He doesn't wait around for a guy to walk the bases loaded and then allow a 2-run homer. He sort of silently, he makes moves before it gets out of control. Where other guys will be like rocking in the dugout and you're like, this guy just walked. He's thrown 12 straight balls and the bases are loaded now on 3 walks and like, I'm just going to ride this guy out here. We're seeing Boone was not having it, got rid of those guys. And but the thing was, they went to 4 different pitchers, and then Houston went to 2. So there were 6 pitching changes within an inning. And I was already like half asleep, but good job for Carlos Correa coming through. And Carlos Correa is the epitome of you can have a rotten season. It was rotten for his standards. I mean, he's an MVP caliber player. The whole entire roster on the Astros is. But he goes out there and he hits that clutch hit. He got the throw was just as important, the one that bounced off Altuve that he got at the plate. But coming through in the clutch, he'll be remembered for that more than anything. Wade Miley was like a 15-game winner of the regular season. He started getting ballooned at the end of the year, and then all of a sudden, he's not even pitching anymore. So what you do for the longevity in the stretch, it is the epitome of a marathon and not a sprint, baseball. So you have to finish. If you get all the way, Rosie Ruiz, faking people on the bus in the Boston Marathon, it doesn't work that way. You have to go all the way and finish the race. And for guys like Carlos Correa, he's playing his best ball. If that was his tipping point and he continues now, all that other will be forgotten if he can help Houston, as their slogan is "Take it back, take back the ring," which currently is still the Sox, even though we're not in the postseason. Go Sox. Looking at the Cash It or Smash It, let's get to some of the topics here, as we'll get to some of the topics from all the big sporting events this week. All right, guys, Cash It or Smash It. Florida was 5-0 heading into LSU, but in a loss, they played their best game of the season. Davis, Cash It or Smash It? I'll start with you.
I will cash it because against a team like LSU, they really played consistent early. It was those last few drives that really brought Florida down, but they were going punch for punch on LSU, a team that, on paper and all the experts said is a better team. I think they're a better team, but yet they stayed with them. I think that if you compare it to the Miami game at the beginning of the year, plus with a different quarterback in the ball game, I wouldn't see that team playing as well as they did against LSU. And even though it was a loss, it makes me feel good about South Carolina, who just beat Georgia, and that makes me feel good about Georgia here in about 3 weeks. So I think it was their best game.
Wait, Jeff, I do not accept that. So you agree, or do you cash it or smash it?
He cashed it.
I cashed it. Take it to the bank.
This is just like Jeopardy. If you don't say the right things, you're not going to get the points. That's all
I'm
saying out here.
He snuck that in early.
I understand what he was saying here.
I heard him
Okay. Thank you.
Hey,
that's all I'm asking.
And I'm going to reluctantly smash it. And the reason
I heard that.
And the reason I say that is, and I think it was Florida's best offensive game of the year. And Kyle Trask now, who the guy's legit. And right after Felipe Franks got hurt and Trask came in and dominated Kentucky in the last quarter of the game, I thought Chad was premature in saying this guy's a lot better than Felipe Franks. Now I think he's right, and so I got to give credit to Chad for seeing that before I did. But I think that was a great offensive performance. 450 plus yards for the Gators in a hostile environment in Baton Rouge. But the Gator defense was disappointing. And yes, Zuniga and Grenard were out, and the Gators defense is predicated on putting pressure on the passer. And so Burrow had the free run. And the Gators were trying to play a dime package with 4 down linemen and one linebacker, and they'd block the 4 guys in the box, and they'd block the linebacker, and they'd get off for a 30 or 40 yard run. It was just one after another, and so I was disappointed in the Gators defense, and I thought the Gators could have played far better on defense. They've got better personnel than what they showed. And so, but they're not going to face another LSU. They're going to, the rest of the season, if you look at what they're going to face until the SEC title game, they won't face anybody like that. So they can modify their defense, cover up for those defensive end injuries, and probably stop most other people. The Gators are a 7-point favorite over South Carolina, the Georgia Slayer this weekend.
There you go. I'll go ahead and cash it as well, because I don't believe that Florida – the score is obviously misleading. If you watch the game, it was 28-28 right up till the end, and then a couple bad plays. But if you look at the way they played, they showed very few teams in the country could have done what Florida did for 3.5 quarters like they did against LSU. And with that being said, we weren't ready to put Florida in that realm just yet. Not everybody. I mean, the media was still thinking Miami version of the 60 yards of penalty on the final drive, the Franks mistakes. Nobody outside of us here in the South or watching it on your 60th birthday or going down there with the Jeffrey D. Game Day sign, by the way, that's made its cameo. He has his own Jeffrey D. Game Day sign now right there next to Urban Meyer with the Pinocchio nose and the Washington State Cougar flag. But here's the thing. With all that being said, I look at those games, and nobody was paying attention to the Gators against Townsend or Tennessee and the rest of the country outside of those fan base. This game, everybody was watching. And Florida, I think, proved to everybody, and what I'm hearing is they played – it's a good sign. They played as well as LSU did for pretty much the entire game in Death Valley, in one of the tough, hostile environments. And I think people are looking at LSU. Heck, they jumped Clemson, who beat Florida State, and Florida State was down 42-0 to Clemson. They end up losing by 30, and LSU jumped Clemson for that win against Florida. So they're obviously giving them enough credit for that win. Big ups to Florida in the loss, and now at this point, they can use that confidence, because even in a loss in the SEC, you know if they go out there now and beat the Missouris, which is easier said than done for Florida. There's something about that. Witnessing Randy Shannon's applauding right now, like the clapping symbols, going on there after they kicked a field goal to be down 38-9 a couple years ago when they were going through the debacle with Sire. But I'm looking at the moment right there where Missouri, if they can win that game, then come about and beat Georgia, obviously easier said than done, and then beat Florida State and gain that confidence going in at that point to go to an SEC title game against Alabama or LSU, then Florida's going to gain that confidence to compete. And Kyle Trask has proven that offensively they have a shot. With Felipe Franks, there was a cap. And when Felipe Franks was going mano-a-mano with a guy like Tua, your shot was, well, I'm going to kick you in the Tuas, because you know what I mean. They were not going to win that game, and Florida was going to lose that football game. Now they have a shot. There's a fighting chance that Trask has proven that they can compete with anyone in the country. And for that, I would say cash it, and I think they're on to a good
Florida
point.
Fans, you guys
Florida should be confident in that as well. But you have to go with smash it, because your best game had to be the one. It was on your birthday and they beat Townsend. That's right. It doesn't get better than that, right?
Well,
That's Jeffrey D.
I thought
the
Tennessee game. Tennessee's not as bad as people think, and the Gators beat them by 31 points and held them to 3 points. Of course, 2 other Gators shutouts. I'm just not sure that was. It was clearly not the defense's best performance because of injuries and maybe just a hangover from the Auburn game. But it was just clearly the best offensive performance we've seen in maybe 10 years.
Cash it or smash it. The Pittsburgh Steelers, who nothing like the duck calling Devlin Hodges going out there last night and getting it done. 24-0 lead against the LA Chargers. They end up winning in that battle right there, 24-17. But cash it or smash it. When your fan base is 80% of the away team, which it was last night in the fun old Carson right there stadium, but if you have a fan base of 80 on the road, cash it or smash it, it is okay to play the other team's music in your home stadium, because that's what they did last night.
I mean, of course, I will smash it, but talk about a team that just based on the results did not need to go to L.A. Now, if you speak to some people who are more familiar with the situation in San Diego, you'd probably have more of an understanding. And I even date someone who's from San Diego and is a Chargers fan.
That's right, yeah.
but so far,
Wait a second.
they're not expected to stay
wait.
in that stadium.
So she's on a Saints bandwagon? She's
No,
blending
she's
in now?
she's a Drew Brees fan.
Okay.
But is a Saints fan.
All right.
As a result, but they're not gonna stay in Carson forever. They are gonna move into Are they moving into the same stadium with the Rams? As far as I know, that's a thing, right?
I think so.
I think so. Into that billion conglomerate. It's going to be like its own space city from like something you would see a Tom Cruise movie in 2040 and something. It's going to be insane.
Do some creative scheduling to make sure that they don't.
It's almost like a running joke in Carson to outnumber the home fans for the LA Chargers. So of course I'm going to smash it because they are the home team, but they need to get in their own stadium or their shared stadium and hopefully get some fans to go along with it.
Yeah, I mean, West Coast football is a little different in that you don't have packed houses, pro or college, and poor old Vanderbilt now is because they're so bad this year, and I hope Craig Smith's listening because I'm not run them down too bad, but
hey, they're good at baseball. Congrats.
But the visiting team comes in there and has 60, 70, 80% of the crowd. Now this past week.
Tell me they beat UNLV. Did they beat UNLV?
They did not. UNLV came in, brought nobody, but there's only about 15 or 20,000 Vanderbilt
That's pretty
fans
disappointing,
there. And so Vanderbilt's kind of like throwing in the towel. And so I think Vanderbilt, Mason may be gone at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But the problem with Vanderbilt, they're going to win probably 5 of the next 7 baseball national championships. I mean, they've got that kind of momentum. And they're probably going to get better in basketball, but they're never going to win anything.
No, when I was out in Vegas, I remember against my mama's will. Sorry, Mama. But when I went out to Vegas, I remember I was out at a UNLV game, and I asked one of the guys 2 things. Yes, Craig, we love you, man, but that's very bad because it alludes to this story right here. When I was out at UNLV, they were playing. The first question I asked is who you're playing. Because we were just showing up there and we just left, and somebody was like, hey, you want to go out and tailgate? And they got a beautiful area to tailgate out there. You see the nightlifes and the craps tables and everything. And so you go out there, and the first guy, hey, who are you guys playing? I don't know, bro. And I'm like, I'm just here for the kegger. I was like, okay. Then next person, I think Fresno State. It's a Bulldog, isn't it? I'm like, well, you've narrowed it down to 50 teams in college, but thank you. But it was Fresno State. But the second it got done, it was like a herd from The Walking Dead. The second, they made the announcement, like, all right, let's get ready to go here, Rebel fans. We're about 5 minutes from kickoff. Everybody turned around and was like, they just left to the parking lot. And everybody got in their car and dispersed to go to, Harrah's and all the places. And I'm like, what's going on? They're like, we're done tailgating. I was like, there's a game. Man, we're not watching football. We're going to lose. We're like a 40-point dog. So for that team to walk in there and to beat Vanderbilt. I know it was like a 15-point spread. I was, like I said, hosting that Dragon Boat event all week for Northeastern Toma and had a fun time, but did not get to see all the games. But that sure as heck was not on the list. But I do know they were a 14.5-point favorite, so very disappointing. And you cannot use the UNLV unless it's a basketball tournament.
Well, Craig says that there's probably some underlying thing going on there, and that they've kind of thrown in the towel. It appeers, and so
maybe they're tanking for Tua too. Is he gonna?
Yeah.
Is he gonna? Maybe he's gonna. They think he's gonna go out there and.
Is there
transfer.
a third brother that could come from the islands and bail Vanderbilt out?
We're gonna go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get to more, including now the Miami Dolphins. They went for 2, or did they go for Tua? Did they actually win in a loss? A lot of questions that don't make too much sense. We're coming back for more right here on the Sports Drive.
Welcome to Mo! Okay, hi, what are we doing today?
I need something that screams something fun. Nothing too on the face, nothing too off the face, but also totally hot.
So I have the perfect thing. It's the most food mullet. You're totally business in the front, but tailgate in the back. It's a fat party. People are having fun. Snap. All your friends are going to be like, whoa, awesome setup. Everyone else is going to be all jelly, okay?
Just like a killer mullet, Moe's Catering will turn the back of your ride into a tailgate party that's sure to turn some heads. Just order ahead and pick it up on your way.
Moe's Southwest Grill, now open in Pace on Highway 90 next to Publix grocery store.
This is a message for all parents. If you as an adult think it's tough being separated or divorced, have you truly stopped to consider how your being separated or divorced affects your children? How parents treat one another, either during or after divorce, can have lifelong effects on your children. Whether you are separated from your spouse or even actually divorced, in either situation, keep in mind that you and your spouse are parents forever. Hello, my name is Stephen T. Holman, and I am a family law attorney. If you have questions regarding custody, visitation, or child support, call me today for a free consultation at 435-6909. That's 435-6909.
ESPN Pensacola is now on 1330 AM and 99.1 FM. This means you can hear ESPN Pensacola better than ever before with the same great shows like Golick and Wingo, The Dan Levitar Show with Stugatz, and The Paul Feinbaum Show, plus live and local sports on the Sports Drive with Chad Brilliante, Talk Football with Coach K, and Sports Call with Davis and Justin. The same station, an improved signal, and a new name. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1.
Local sports radio doesn't stop on Fridays, which is why we bring you Sports Call with Davis and Justin.
College football, NFL, the MLB playoffs, UWF football. We're talking about the big games and sporting news every Saturday from 11 to 1.
Plus, interviews with the athletes, coaches, and fellow journalists.
Sports Call with Davis and Justin.
11 to 1 every Saturday on Pensacola's home for local sports, ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
It's time for the third annual Ace of Hearts Poker Run this Saturday with Harley-Davidson of Pensacola. This poker run benefits the American Heart Association and will be a border battle between Alabama and Florida. Pick your side and start at either Mobile Bay Harley-Davidson or Harley-Davidson of Pensacola. Registration starts at 9 a.m. on Saturday morning, and Harley's Angels will be serving biscuits and gravy. See you Saturday for the annual Ace of Hearts Poker Run with Harley-Davidson of Pensacola. Let's ride.
There's a lot going on right now, and broadcasters are on the ground covering all of it, bringing you the weather, the traffic, and breaking news, all while entertaining you 24 hours a day. Someone needs to tell you what's going on around the world and in our hometowns, and that someone is us. We are free radio. We are always there. We are broadcasters. Visit wearebroadcasters.com or text radio to 52886 to learn more. Furnished by NAB and this station.
Hockey is back. The Ice Flyers opening weekend is this Friday and Saturday night. The puck drops on the Ice Flyers 2019-2020 season Friday at 7:35 p.m. and Saturday at 7:05 p.m. Be a part of the excitement of the fast-paced, hard-hitting action of Ice Flyers hockey this Friday and Saturday for their opening weekend. Bring your friends, family, coworkers, and groups out to watch the Ice Flyers kick off their season Friday and Saturday night.
The Paul Feinbaum Show.
Everything you wanted to happen hasn't happened.
Oh my gosh, that's all any of y'all want to talk about is Alabama.
You're really not understanding the conversation, but anyway, we can move on.
Alabama's dynasty has just begun.
Hold on a second, Charles. Somebody wants to talk to you.
I don't want to talk to that compelling moron. He's nothing but a lame-headed old man.
2 till 5 every weekday afternoon. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You're out of your freaking mind, cowturd.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station, your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Rocking back, having some fun with you right here on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM, simulcast on Blab TV. It's the Sports Drive. Davis Allen, Jeffrey D., Chad Brilliante with you. Craig Smith via Vanderbilt text right here. He's, hey, Jeff.
Yeah,
good day. Yeah, Craig's a great guy, and his team wins in other ways. They win in hey, I went to Vanderbilt, so I probably know more than you. He doesn't say that. He's a very nice guy, but, that's what we think. Oh, he went to Vanderbilt.
Well, his dividends come during the baseball season because
yes.
I mean those guys are runaway good.
Yep.
I mean they've got Rocker, not only Rocker,
Kumar Rocker.
They've got Al Leiter's son, who's would be one of the top 5 picks in the Major League Baseball draft. Decided to go to Vanderbilt because his family's got money. He's going to play 3 years at Vanderbilt. So they got Leiter, they got Rocker, they've got 4 other guys who can throw mid-90s. If you beat them, you're just going to be lucky. They're really going to be that good.
Well, I just don't understand all this commotion. It was like I was going to say friend, but the idiot that I knew in high school that told us we were having a debate about 99-cent gas. It was 99-cent gas at the time. And he goes, what's all this conversation about gas prices, dude? Don't you guys just put $20 or $30 in your tank like I do? And I was like, All right, bro. Like, this conversation's over.
I didn't put 20. I barely put $10 of gas my junior year of high school when I was lucky enough to have a car.
What do you mean about gas, bro? I just put $20, right? Yeah, same with grocery shopping. Just put $100 down. Don't worry about what BOGOs or any of that stuff. Leave it for us. But same thing. Why are you guys arguing about all this sports stuff? Can't you just? I was always told, even if you don't win the games, even if you lose randomly, maybe to Pitt or something, don't you just claim it? Don't you claim titles? Is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I mean,
that's what I was taught.
If you went to school in the Orlando area.
Okay, I just was wondering because that's what I was told.
I guess
at
if
our
you
school.
lose to Pitt and
Cincinnati Bearcats, yeah, just claim
then,
it.
I think
Go Knights.
there's probably a possibility like Highlights Magazine might vote you number one. Or Ladies Home Journal.
Wait, I just heard it. Wait, Yep, that's the crowd celebrating another Dylan Gabriel pick in the end zone. Okay, there we go. Moving on here to the next one. Here is the cash it or smash it here for this one. Okay, so the Finns go out there and they lose on a 2-point conversion, but they don't get it. And did they actually cash it or smash it by not getting the 2-point conversion? Win in the long run. If you're a fan of the Miami Dolphins, cash it or smash it, you are happy that 2-point conversion failed.
If you are excited about having a new quarterback in your system, which I would.
Over 20 years of chaos, yes.
Cash it. I think there were some Miami Dolphins fans who were looking ahead to the future that were like, miss it, don't get it. And then you have
question.
It wasn't even close to getting it either.
And then you have your diehards who aren't thinking about the future; they're thinking about the present. And they just want to win. They just want some kind of win. They're over here saying, "Oh, we're bad," but they're not looking ahead of what can be. And so, if you're looking ahead, I would say you're feeling relieved and you're kicking back on your beach chair, looking at your palm tree, sipping your Mai Tai, and you're enjoying your winless season.
True story, Davis. 2004, the Gators are playing Mississippi State, and I'm with a large group of people, and we're watching Ron Zook's Florida Gators down to the wire, tie game against Mississippi State, and Mississippi State like breaks a playoff tackle, and they're head for the end zone. And I'm going like, go, 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 and everybody's like, what are you doing? He's like, well, we just got Urban Meyer. Because we're going to fire Ron Zook on Wednesday, and we're going to hire Urban Meyer before Notre Dame does.
Sometimes that happens. The bone shattering of Drew Bledsoe led to the success in the dynasty of like Drew Bledsoe being in a hospital bed like concussions from taking one of the nastiest hits from Mo Lewis in the history of the game led to the opportunities of the golden boy in Tom Brady. So thank you, the bones shattering. Thank you, Mo Lewis, for that nasty hit.
That's another reason why they could be celebrating that touchdown is they had a spread to cover. So
that's exactly right.
That should have been
the alumni's fired up.
No, that spread should have been when that should have been a Delaware State game versus Florida State where it says NA on the spread, not available. Like we're not going to try this one. It should have been that way for Washington. They should have took that off the books. Like this game does not count. We don't know what's going to happen because they both are 0-0 at halftime. Pretty much.
A couple of anecdotes about that 2004 game. The head coach at Mississippi State was Sylvester Croom, the former Alabama center, who's a terrific player. But he cost two coaches their jobs. He cost obviously Ron Zook his job, and he also cost Mike Shula his job because they beat Alabama that year, and so a lot of the Alabama fans were going, well, let's just hire Sylvester Croom and fire him. So they fired Shula, but they didn't hire Croom. They went a different direction. I think it was maybe Dennis Francione or somebody, but yeah, I mean, Croom has a distinction. And what's funny is that in the first game of the season, Mississippi State lost to Maine.
Oh.
Is that possible? The Black Bears? Is it possible to lose to Maine and beat Florida later?
Is it possible for Appalachian State to beat Michigan?
The main event, baby.
Yeah, well, you know what? Appy isn't so crappy. They're actually pretty
Not
good.
Right now. Not right now.
They're actually pretty good right now.
They're ranked right
now. They're 24th. I think second time. And although last season when they were ranked for the first time, they immediately lost.
Yes.
So let's see if they can sustain the success.
And, the funny part with to talk about Miami and tanking, do you know that they, through 5 games, here's a little ditty for you, they have less in 5 games scoring than there's been 9 teams that have scored in 1 game this year? Their 5-week total is 42 points, and there's been 9 teams in the NFL that have scored 42 points or more in 1 game.
Ouch.
That's pretty bad in the NFL through 5 weeks. But, hey, when you need Tua, the battle, you just keep on chugging and really, really stinking. Looking at the matchup right there, as we talked a little bit about the high hopes and spirit of Baker Mayfield, I think at this point we realize that his emotional levels are getting you want somebody to be passionate, but there's a difference between being passionate and sometimes learning to lay low. You know, like Brick, you might want to lay low for a little while. You murdered a man with a trident. Like I saw that. He threw a, like at this point, Baker Mayfield for a little while when he was smashing beers and everybody's like, he can do it. And a lot of people that were realistic about the sport are like, first off, there's like a voodoo witchcraft over the whole city of Cleveland in sports. So don't expect something to go out there and just because someone writes an article when your team's not been in the playoffs, be like, well, I guess it's the Super Bowl. I want to see that first. You know, like something after a while. Like the guy that's had 9 divorces, like if he's like, this is the one, it's on stage and the aunt and uncle are like, is this the one? I was at his wedding last week, I think. But, you know, this is the thing is if you're getting it from that guy, it's, you know, the boy who cried wolf. In this case, for Cleveland to be like, this is our year, the defense wasn't that great. They still had a lot of young players. The chemistry to build with that many egos is not easy. And you had a coach that looks like a guy fishing with Boo Weekley, or in a Duck Dynasty show. Good guy from Alabama, played for Gene Stallings and Freddie Kitchens, but probably wasn't fit out to be a head coach in the NFL. And so far, at 2-4, it is shown.
I understand the hype on Baker Mayfield, though, and I understand the hype on the Cleveland Browns. You have a guy who's a Heisman Trophy winner. He's a first overall draft pick. He's going to Cleveland, which, by the way, you go to Cleveland for the longest time, your career's already over before you even take your first snap. But something was different about this approach, this draft pick. And then when you win 7 games, when in the last 2 seasons you won a game with Robert Griffin III, there's that hype. So I understand the hype during the offseason. He signs all these endorsements. Have you all seen all the Progressive commercials?
Oh, I've seen them all, yeah.
He's at home at his stadium, and his wife's making him go get stuff, and he's having to walk 200 miles to go get anything because he's in the stadium. But I understand the hype. Now, do I also – am I not surprised, should I say? Am I not surprised that they're 2-4 up to this point? Not really. I don't think I'm surprised at all. Is Freddie Kitchens the best coaching hire in the end? Probably not. I still believe in Baker Mayfield, though, and I believe in this team that they have. They have talent all around them. Baker Mayfield needs to continue to mature, and I think he needs to continue to focus more on the game itself in front of him. I'm still buying in, though, that this can be a playoff-bound team because, frankly, the division's not that tough.
Yeah,
they still have room to grow and become a better team. They could still make the playoffs, especially in a wild card.
Sure, they could. I mean, they're 2-4, so strategically they need to go probably.
They've already beat Baltimore once, so that's good.
7-3 the rest of the way.
Have that going for them.
7-3 the rest of the way gets them to
9-7. Yeah.
But again, I'm not sure that Freddie, Cleveland fans expected more.
Yeah.
And
the Bengals are the ones that don't expect crap.
And by the way, we're not talking about the Bengals when it comes to winless teams. The Bengals, let's keep in mind, are 0-6.
Oh, by the way, Dolphins, and that's why the Dolphins
they still have competition.
They still have competition.
There's competition.
There's they need to do the hunt board. The Bengals versus the
What's
Dolphins.
What's going to happen is
the
Dolphins will go 1-15, and Cincinnati 0-16. And then Cincinnati will get Tua, and then the Dolphins will have to take it again next year to get Trevor Lawrence.
It's not – Cincinnati doesn't play Miami in week 16 or 17, do they? That'd be just so funny.
But
that would be the funniest thing in the history.
In
week 17, if they played each other both at 0-15, that would be the most hilarious game. Like both of them are punting on first down or slipping, like a Benny Hill musical here.
The second to last game of the season, December 22nd, the Bengals go to Miami. I hope they both are winless.
Wait, if they're all winless, it doesn't matter because whoever loses that game, the other one, in a retrospect, wins the tiebreaker, don't they? You meaning that if you lose, then the other team gets credit for beating you if they both finish 1-15, so the next week would be irrelevant. I mean, it would be like in retrospect the reverse.
Tiebreaker, exactly. So
by losing, you'd win. You ought to, so no matter what.
It's over with.
So it is.
Exactly.
So it does fit our scenario.
Yeah.
Right.
Sweet Jesus, it's actually going to happen.
This is happening.
This is happening, folks. Folks, we have something. If your team is out of the playoffs, if you're not the Patriots right now, I'm just playing. I just felt like
saying. But I think Freddie's probably feeling the hot seat. But if you can't feel the heat, get out of the kitchens.
There we go. That's it. That's yeah. Now you can do something with South Carolina and Georgia this week. If you would like to do a headline for that. I don't know one right now.
I'll definitely come up with
something. If you want to think of something. One team's the Gamecocks, and they played between the hedges. But okay, let's go ahead and move on here to the next conversation we had. Is San Francisco the real deal? And we'll get to more on that when we return. We do need to take a break. When we come back, we're also going to give you a chance. Got a pair for you for the Pensacola Interstate Fair. It is a pair of tickets, correct?
It's 2
I'm just
tickets,
used to saying that. Yeah. Somebody said, did you say I got a pair for you? I was like, we got tickets to give away, so I just always say that. So, all right, so we do have tickets. When we come back, we'll give you a chance to win them to the Pensacola Interstate Fair. We're going to be out there. We do work for Funnel Cakes, so if you want to, talk some football, we're there. Those things are good, and looking forward to it. So we'll be out at the fair Thursday, Friday, and all of next week. And when I say us, he doesn't know, but Jeffrey D is hosting. I'm on vacation. Coming back for more right here on the Sports Drive.
There's a lot going on right now, and broadcasters are on the ground covering all of it, bringing you the weather, the traffic, and breaking news, all while entertaining you 24 hours a day. Someone needs to tell you what's going on around the world and in our hometowns, and that someone is us. We are free radio. We are always there. We are broadcasters. Visit wearebroadcasters.com or text radio to 52886 to learn more. Furnished by NAB and this station.
Just felt there's a huge need in Pensacola to bring foot and ankle services, specifically orthopedic foot and ankle services, to this area. There's so much growth in Pensacola. I wanted a freestanding orthopedic foot and ankle center to do this, and as far as I can tell, this is the only one really in the country that's freestanding. Most orthopedic surgeons are part of a multi-specialty group. So we offer on-site x-rays, on-site CT scan, and on-site MRI. They can come to one place.
Visit NielsenOrthopedics.com to reserve your appointment today.
You wanted a toy at the store when you were a kid. Mom said no. You wanted a date as a teenager. The homecoming queen said no. Now, as an adult, you want a car, and all the dealers keep saying no. Finally, there's someone in Pensacola who will say yes. It's Gordon Auto Wholesale on Old Palafox, just 1 block south of Airport Boulevard. Now with a huge selection of third-row SUVs in stock. No credit, bad credit, repos, no problem. Say yes to Gordon Auto Wholesale. Call them at 850-479-9200, 479-9200, and hear yes right now.
No matter what you call it, a he hut, a Mac Shack, or a dude dugout, you can get that him hideaway ready with News Radio's annual Man Cave giveaway at the Pensacola Interstate Fair. One winner will win all the Man Cave content that includes a large flat screen TV from Buywise, a recliner from Lazy Boy, a gift basket from Renfro Pecans, a countertop ice maker from HBM, 100 wing platter from Beef O'Brady's, and a whole bunch of tokens for some Culver's custards. Just stop by our Man Cave tent at the fair and register for a chance at your new Man Cave.
Pensacola Beach isn't just a sun-soaked white sand paradise. It's also the best dance floor in 50 states. Every Tuesday night, the stage near the Beach Mall comes alive with great music you know and love. Bands on the Beach are free shows every Tuesday through October, and they're brought to you by the Santa Rosa Island Authority. Tomorrow,
it's the one and only Holly Shelton, named Best Vocalist on the Gulf Coast several times over by several different outlets, delighting audiences from a special blend of classic rock to smooth jazz.
Join us for live music every Tuesday night at 7 for Bands on the Beach.
This is Tort Talk with personal injury lawyer Terrence A. Gross.
Hi, this is Terrence A. Gross. Did you know there are over 100,000 lawyers in the state of Florida? Less than 2,000 are board-certified civil trial lawyers. I'm proud to say that both myself and my law partner Charlie Schuster have been board-certified for over 25 years and specialize in handling personal injury claims.
Tort Talk is brought to you by Terrence A. Gross. Call 434-3333 or check him out at grossandschuster.com.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
All right, well, you got a chance right now to win some tickets to the Pensacola Interstate Fair. 850-623-1330 is the number. 850-623-1330 is the number. Well, how about this? I guess you could say, bless your heart moment of the week, which I realized about 3 days into living here. I got one of those, and I was like, oh, I was nice to that lady. And my wife's like shaking her head. No, that was not nice. You shouldn't. Oh, bless his heart on that. I'm like, well, thank you, ma'am. I'm like, thank you. We're giving it back and forth, and she's giving me these eyes of like fury right there. And I'm like, she doesn't actually mean that. She just wants me to leave. Looking at this situation here, Eagles linebacker Zach Brown, great band, by the way. He does a good job. But he also plays linebacker for the Eagles and identified Kirk Cousins this week on Twitter as probably the weakest part of their offense. # bulletin board material. So Kirk Cousins goes out there at home, which Minnesota always dominates at home. I told yesterday in the NFL Tailgate show, that was my stone cold lock was, take Minnesota. They're at home. They don't lose at home in close divisional games. They truly usually, they dominate their opponents. 4 touchdowns from Kirk Cousins in the 38-20 win. Eagles, here's the best part. Adam Schefter, blue check mark and all. Today, Eagles are releasing linebacker Zach Brown. Multiple teams expected to be interested.
Wow.
So a little Twitter karma here. Nothing like calling out the weakest part of their offense for him to go out and coast you with 4 touchdowns in a slaughter, and then you get released the next day.
I just came across that myself, and really, when I first saw this, I was going to talk about this on Sports Call on Saturday. Didn't have the opportunity. But I was completely going to agree with Zach Brown, so I'm happy I didn't bring up anything. Otherwise, I would have been called into the office this morning. Davis, we're going to have to talk about your show. I think it's time to wrap it up. So, I guess it's a good thing I didn't bring it up. But first off, I guess I'd say good for Kirk Cousins for responding and shutting up Zach Brown. And I don't really know much about Zach Brown, but if multiple teams are interested, I see him signing tomorrow. But yeah, a little bit of karma on that one.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, I'm kind of surprised they would release him just for some innocuous comment, unless he was just completely obliterated by the offense, this past week. But yeah, I mean, yeah, as you mentioned, Chad, it's also a very good band.
Yeah, very good. Looking at getting back to some college football talk here, one of the things that we've been paying attention to is it's been such an exciting road right now in the SEC this year at the top, meaning that Florida's back to being relevant in the conversation. You've got LSU that's not – LSU is always that team that out of the LSU fans, I speak at the Bayou Bengal Club every year at Cordova Lanes. The Steve Reynolds and the folks doing a great job, John Spurney and all the folks. And I'm telling you, when I'm out there talking to those fans, every single time they're engaged, like you better say that LSU is Alabama. Because that's how they feel, but they haven't been. And I said 2 years ago, the one X factor to all of this is Joe Burrow. This was last year. And what happened last year is what you saw, and we talked a little bit about it earlier, but one of the things that you saw, and I was talking with Coach Kay Stevenson today, is we give coaches, first-year coaches, hall passes. Tom Herman will go out there in the mic for Texas, and that's not my team. I don't like these players. And you're like, they're your guys. They're just not the guys you recruited. Or Willie Taggart be like, yeah, it was really crap, but real bad crap. But you know what? It's first year. Give them another year. And then this year they're like, yeah, we can't pay the buyout, so we'll see what happens after. But at that point, though, what we don't do is we don't give new coordinators with new offenses and new quarterbacks a first-year pass. You know what I'm saying? And Joe Burrow, what you saw last year was, remember Matt Canada and Ed Ogeron? It was like putting 2 ravenous pit bulls that haven't eaten in 2 weeks in the same room together. Just not a good ending. And they both clashed immediately when he came over, wanted to be innovative with the offense, and Ed Ogeron wanted to be old school. They didn't get along. They were out. Essminger comes in. He had worked with Edo. They knew each other, old pals, old football pals, drinking whiskey at the bar. Like, that's what they sounded like. And then they come in there, and they do their thing. Now, Joe Burrow had a year under his belt at that point, learning a new system and adjusting. But if you go back and look at the passes Joe Burrow made last year against Florida's and Auburn's early in the season, it was very vanilla. It was low-key, 27 attempts, 25. This year, he's adjusted. He's figured it out. He's worked well with all the guys around him. And really, last year was his first shake because he didn't get a start in Ohio State. So what we're really seeing is not a turnaround in a guy's career like we've seen from some quarterbacks. We're seeing truly how good this kid can be. And Urban Meyer, one thing, Urban probably shouldn't be teaching those leadership classes at Ohio State like he was. Like that's like Hugh Freeze on cell phone reception or Willie Taggart on first dating impressions. But overall, when you look at the way that Burrow's played, instead of people saying, man, this guy's finally finding it, this guy's finally getting the opportunity to let people see him. And I think that's something that we all need to be aware of.
Yeah, it's not just Burrow. It's the entire staff. I mean, Brady and Ensminger, and the great wide receivers they've got, and they've taken it to a different level. And Burrow's clearly a huge cog in that. But if he was shackled by at Orgeron offense from the old days, and they hadn't brought in all those dynamic playmakers on the perimeter and didn't have Brady, then they'd probably be a pedestrian offense. Mm-hmm. If you look at the Florida LSU game, Florida had 9 possessions. I mean, because Florida was very efficient offensively. They moved the chains. They ate up clock. 9 possessions. They scored 4 touchdowns. They had 1 interception. They turned the ball over on downs once, and they punted 3 times. Well, LSU had the ball 9 possessions. They scored 6 touchdowns. That's a huge efficiency ratio. They missed a field goal, and they punted twice. Never turned the ball over. So, I mean, I think Alabama LSU is going to kind of look a little bit like that game where it's almost like a Wimbledon tennis match. It's like, who can break serve? I mean, because those teams are going to run up and down the field against each other because I just don't see them stopping each other.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be the best matchup, too. It's one of those matchups where you really hope that both teams, and it's likely that both teams will be undefeated by the time Alabama-LSU comes around. And going back to LSU-Florida, and what Brent had said earlier, that they averaged just over 10 yards per play. They averaged a first down per play that they ran. Joe Burrow at one point, I don't have his stats in front of me, but at one point I saw that he was 20 for 22, well over 200 yards, already thrown some touchdowns. He is playing very good football. The receivers are there, and they are a deadly team offensively, and they're playing old school football.
Well, you know, the LSU defense is not going to stop what we've seen from Alabama this year. I mean, Alabama's quarterback and wide receiver play is the best, maybe the best, arguably, we've ever seen in college football.
I think it is, yeah.
And then, but Alabama's defense is going to stop that Joe Burrow offense with those 4 elite wideouts. And now they're developing a running game. I mean, that is going to be an offensive showcase.
Yeah, it will be. But both those teams, though, with that being said, you're right. I mean, the secondary for Alabama is not what it used to be. But both those teams are capable with the guys all over the field, where just the one misleading pass could end up being the end of the game. And that's the excitement is. That's why, even though Florida didn't win, they proved they can play with LSU. Like, they proved to everybody, and LSU, I think, has proven each week that they can play with Alabama. And even have that conversation down that path would not even have been close last year. We would have laughed and mocked that. So I think this is something that's cool to see, that these teams are getting closer and closer. And you have that, even Oklahoma and Texas, great game this week. You know, it showed that both those teams had an opportunity. Oklahoma, Ohio State, we didn't know what kind of drop-off they would be with the 2 most talked-about guys during the offseason, Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields. And now what we're seeing is both these teams aren't just in that mix like they were last year. Both of these teams are legit contenders. I'm not buying into Wisconsin. I know Coach K really believes they're one of the top. I'm not 100% buying into Wisconsin right now. They're always, every time, Wisconsin always has a let-me-down game, you know, with Kahn at quarterback, and they always seem to have that one game. But I think that Jonathan Taylor's a beast, but smart defenses with speed, if they went up against an LSU or if they went up against an Alabama, Clemson's, they'll figure out a game plan to make them throw the football to beat them. Where in the Big Ten, there's not a lot of defenses that can stop that.
And Wisconsin does have Ohio State here in about 2 weeks.
And we'll see that, yeah. But Wisconsin so far, whatever, they're jumping around crushing people.
Wisconsin is
good for them.
Giving up like 20 points the entire season.
Yeah, they're just I mean, hey, who am I to say? I hope they could prove me down, because I'm telling you, those 6'7", 400-pound linemen, they don't want to hear anything from me. So there you go. When we come back, we're going to get some more on some of the big stories, including Dallas. You'd think the apocalypse is happening, but somehow they're still tied for first in the division. We're coming back for more. Don't tell Jerry. Shh. Coming back for more right here on the Sports Drive.
There are kids in this country who didn't have a parent at their baseball games or recitals because their parents were serving in faraway places. But now they're coming home, and Wounded Warrior Project assists them through the Warriors to Work program.
My mom used to be a tank programmer. Now she works with computers. I'm really glad she's home because I can't eat my dad's marshmallow macaroni anymore.
To support the Warriors to Work program, contact Wounded Warrior Project at findwwp.org. Welcome home the brave.
ESPN Radio is taking over ESPN News. You can now watch your favorite radio shows all in one place. From Golick and Wingo.
Oh, yeah.
To the Dan Levitard Show with Stugotz.
All right, I'm available every day, thanks.
To the Stephen A. Smith Show.
I just don't understand this guy.
To the Will Kane Show.
It's my job to tell the truth.
From morning to night, the best of ESPN Radio is now available on ESPN News.
What if people had a battery level icon? Like on your phone? You'd see a lot of us in need of a recharge. Thank goodness there's 5-Hour Energy. Because just one sugar-free, vitamin-packed 5-Hour Energy shot can get you all the way back to 100% fast. And isn't life better at 100%? 5-Hour Energy. Get back to 100%. For more information, visit 5hourenergy.com.
When working at a growing business, you wear many hats. The new business hat, the buying toner for the copy machine hat, the sifting through tons of resumes hat. You can throw away that last hat thanks to Indeed.com. When posting your job, Indeed lets you add screener questions that give you a less time-consuming route to your short list of qualified candidates. So go ahead, dust off that extra long lunch hat. Hiring's better when you've got your short list. Save time on hiring when you post a job on Indeed. Get started today at Indeed.com/hire.
The 2019 Wreaths of Joy Gala benefiting the Art Gateway is fast approaching. This year, the event will be held on December 5th at the Pensacola Bay Center. Businesses, organizations, and individuals will gather to enjoy dinner, entertainment, auctions, and more. 9 sponsorship levels are available with proceeds benefiting children and adults with intellectual and developmental disabilities in our community. For more information, visit their website, arc-gateway.org. We see the ability, not the disability.
ESPN Radio is taking over ESPN News. You can now watch your favorite radio shows all in one place. From Golick and Wingo.
Oh, yeah.
To the Dan Levitard Show with Stugotz.
All right, I'm available every day, thanks.
To the Stephen A. Smith Show.
I just don't understand this guy.
To the Will Kane Show.
It's my job to tell the truth.
From morning to night, the best of ESPN Radio is now available on ESPN News.
Talk football every day with Pensacola's own Coach K.
The key on offense is going to be whether Franks can come back and duplicate what he did in the last 4 games.
Every weekday, noon till 1 on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 FM 99.1.
ESPN Pensacola is your home to UWF Argos football. Catch every game, home or away, on Pensacola's home for local sports. ESPN Pensacola 1330 FM 99.1.
You're listening to Pensacola's local and ESPN sports station. Your favorite ESPN radio shows, plus high school and UWF Argo football. ESPN Pensacola 1330.
And welcome back. Sports Drive with you right here. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. Simulcast on Blab TV. Having some fun with you. Davis Allen, Jeffrey D. joining us. Just enjoying it as we got all of us have worked together. And it's been a while since we've been back in this rodeo right here. It's been too long. But
no, it's been too long since I've gotten to be part of the show.
Well, that's not where I was going. You know, you always have the right to just pop in here and take up. That's why I look at this. Look at this nice companion seat that just sits here by itself, open for any. Actually, the doors are locked. Don't take that up. But looking at the big, we only have a couple minutes, so I do want to get into this. Cam Newton comes back. It looks like this week after the foot injury, and he is going to be expected to play. He already said, "I'm ready to head to my team facility," and he's already gotten 3 different umbrellas that he will fly to as Mary Poppins. But when you get to Cam Newton, you look at a guy like Kyle Allen. He's gone out there and gone 4-0. 4-0 when this team started 0-2. And Carolina was at that point where people were like, they have Christian McCaffrey, and he's really good, but he's stuck on an island. And, Luke Kuechly's back, and he's playing good football. As when he's healthy, he's one of the best in the game. I'm telling you what, I watched that game because it was by itself on an island this week in London. I know my geographics, I'm talking about like the game by itself, folks. Like, London is not an island. How dare that? He's actually on the UK, which is an island off the. We don't need to get into that crap. I'm telling you right now, though, for the folks out there listening, Cam Newton should not be the starting quarterback when he returns. Kyle Allen is 4-0, and they're winning. They were 0-9. 0-9 over their last 9 games before Kyle Allen took over. Dating back to last year, 0-9 on games, and this guy's taken over and go 4-0. That you give this guy until he shows signs of drop-off. With Cam Newton right now, you're not a contender. You haven't been since one Super Bowl. This isn't Drew Brees or Tom Brady we're talking about. I don't think this is a question. You go with Kyle Allen until he proves otherwise.
Well,
I know I'm probably in the minority in this, but
I know during the break we discussed the year of the backup. It's been the year of the backup in college and in pro, and that's definitely the case with Kyle Allen playing well overall. I don't think he's putting up numbers that are necessarily jumping off the charts. Like Gardner Minshew, I don't think has been putting up numbers that have been jumping off the charts. But Kyle Allen has been a very efficient quarterback, playing well. Christian McCaffrey, of course, he's about 99% of your offensive load, but he's playing well at quarterback. Kyle Allen is. When you have Cam Newton returning, you would like to think he's going to be healthy. He wasn't healthy in the first 2 weeks. He said that he wanted to rush it and come back and play because he wanted to play. I can't help but think you have to go with the quarterback that you're paying the big bucks to. If all of a sudden your production goes back down because Cam Newton is your quarterback, then go back to Kyle Allen. I want to say that a healthy Cam Newton is a successful football team. Paired up with Christian McCaffrey, I think that your winning formula can still be with Cam Newton. If I'm wrong and Kyle Allen ends up being the quarterback that helps being the winning formula, then go back to Kyle Allen. He's still your backup quarterback. I go back to Cam Newton when he returns.
I mean, Jeff, I look at this, and the comments you were making, I get all that stuff was making a case for Cam Newton, I believe, can be that guy. But to me, it was every single thing you were saying there, Davis, was also making the case for Kyle Allen stronger. Because some of the things you kept saying were things about how Carolina, I hope that Cam Newton can come back and start winning some games, things like that. Kyle Allen, all he's done is go out and win every game that he's been in and win it against, look at this. He won it against Houston in Houston, who just beat Kansas City. He won it against the Jags by putting up 34 points against good defense. And he beat a Bucs team that was getting better with 37. He has 9 touchdowns to 0 interceptions through his 4 weeks. This guy's done nothing to show that he. And like I said, I'm pretty good at indicating and reading the quarterbacks and watching the development and how they play. And this guy is making good 2-step drops, vision, making smart choices. He throws the ball out of bounds instead of into coverage to cost the team a game. He seems like he gets it. He's a smart quarterback, and the quarterback position is one of those that it could be a duck calling Devlin Hodges out there. I'm just saying, I think I would stick with Kyle Allen on this, but I know.
Yeah, I think Davis made a great point.
He did.
Southern Cal, Florida, Tennessee, South Carolina, their backup quarterbacks have been better than their first-rate quarterbacks.
It's true. No, none of can we all agree they're not beating the Pats? Is that if they get to the Super Bowl?
At least not right now.
We're going to end the show right now.
At least not right now.
On that note, guys, tonight, who do you got? St. Louis and Washington, 0-0 at the end of the first.
I do have St. Louis winning the ball game tonight.
I think St. Louis will rally and cut it 2-1.
All right, Jeff, Davis, Chad, God bless.
Football
Thanks, guys.
Season has arrived, and ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM 99.1 FM is where the action is. Bringing your high school football every Friday night, UWF football on Saturday.